Hi, Bobby Carpenter. So glad you could join us here today. NFL scouts are here. They want to see the trio of Toledo wide receivers, starting with Cody Thompson.
And they're a very talented set of groups. And Cody Thompson, the leader of that group, battled through some injuries a year ago, came back, and he's going to be a force today.
And Thompson, number 25, keep an eye on him, not only as a wide receiver, also special teams. But against Bowling Green last week, he put on a typically big show.
He did, and this is what you love to see out of Cody Thompson. He does it all for him. He'll catch the ball across the middle. He can stretch the field and use his size to get leverage. Then he also is going to finish off, and he'll be able to give you the touchdown when needed. But he is a natural leader of this offense. Even when he was out last season, they said he was still heavily involved.
Meanwhile, Eastern Michigan has one of the best edge rushers in the MAC. His name is Max Crosby, and he has to be accounted for.
Max Crosby is a very talented player. He's big, he's physical, he's going to set the edge. He'll help apply pressure to this Toledo offense. What he's able to do, his size, his speed, you just let him go. Defensive coordinator Neil Nether, he said you just can turn him loose. A tight end cannot block him one-on-one, and he's going to need to come up big for the Eagles this afternoon.
Indeed he will, as Eastern Michigan looks to snap a 4-game losing streak. They have been in every game during that slide, but they haven't been able to get over that hump.
They haven't been able to close it out yet, and that's going to be a critical component. They were able to get the big win early in the season against Purdue, but now have to be able to find some success in this MAC slate.
Toledo, meanwhile, trying to stay unbeaten in conference play. When we come back, we'll have the kickoff between Toledo and Eastern Michigan, and it's coming up next. Jason Candle in his third year as head coach at Toledo, a 2003 graduate of Mount Union. The only two places he's ever worked as a football coach at Mount Union, the Division III powerhouse, where he was a 6-time national champion, twice as a wide receiver, 4 times as an assistant coach. And then there is Coach Creighton, 5th year out of Kenyon College in Ohio, Hall of Fame quarterback at that Division III school. Got a terrific officiating crew today, which is led by Amanda Sauer-Cook, her 2nd year as a referee, working this Mid-American Conference game. With Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman, and we are underway. Toledo won the toss and deferred, so Eastern Michigan will take it to begin at the 25-yard line.
You mentioned the coaches, kind of a unique setup here. Both coaches, D3, Ohio guys, small school, getting their start. Very different paths led them to where they are today, but nonetheless, small school guys hitting it off and doing a great job so far for each of their schools in the MAC.
Mike Glass, the junior quarterback from St. Louis, who has completed 60% of his passes, gets the start. Tyler Wiegers would come off the bench, and before the first snap, we've got movement up front. It looked like Jamal Hines, number 91 on the defensive end for the Rockets, may have jumped.
Offside, defense, number 91, lined up in the neutral zone. 5-yard punt.
Freshman out of Princeton High School in Cincinnati.
And they love him. Brian George, the defensive coordinator, was talking about his huge potential, very explosive up front, a little bit undersized, only a freshman, obviously excited and ready to go here today.
Yeah, he's been a playmaker. He had a sack week 1 against VMI, had an interception, defensive linemen love that, at Fresno State. And so on 1st down and 5, it's a keep by Glass. He's got plenty of room out across the 40-yard line. It's an Eastern Michigan 1st down at the 41-yard line.
And that right there is an example of what Chris Creighton loves about what Mike Glass can bring to this offense. And rotating the quarterbacks, like you mentioned, him and Tyler Wiegers. The Glass is athletic. He's a thick guy. He keeps them honest with that quarterback run. And that's going to be a big part of Eastern's offense today, to be able to continue to move the chains.
Bobby, as we will see, Toledo has had no problem getting chunk yardage on offense, but that's not been a big thing for Eastern this year.
Now, for Eastern to win this game, for me today, they're going to have to make this an ugly football game, keep it in a lower scoring relative to what you typically see, high teens. If it gets above 30 points, I would definitely say the advantage of the swing for the Rockets, because Eastern wants to try to keep this thing very manageable for an offense that maybe doesn't have those explosive playmakers.
Offsides, defense, number 99. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
This time it's the left defensive end, Tuzar Skipper, senior from Norwich, Connecticut, who is the guilty party for the Rockets.
Brian George, defensive coordinator, not probably happy starting the game with a couple of penalties, some offside stuff to start the game. And that's a discipline piece, and they're going to have to get that cleaned up here as the game rolls along.
Yeah, Brian George told us earlier this week on our conference call that he needs more consistency out of his unit. Like last week against Bowling Green, he said they had 66 good plays, 6 breakdowns, and this certainly a breakdown as Mike Glass is inside the 10-yard line.
Doug, it's almost like Eastern heard you said they didn't have an explosive offense. Then you see Mike Glass rip off 45-plus yards on the zone read right here. You can see him faking the handoff, getting the read there to Shaq Van, pulls it out, no contain on the outside, good blocking down the field, and Mike using some of that speed here to get down inside the 10.
First and goal at the 6-yard line. That is by far the longest run of the season for the Eagles. Before that, it was a Glass 24-yarder at Western. Straight up the middle, Shaq Van. He's inside the 5, and we've got extracurricular. Dakota Tallman, the center for Western, scrapping with Nate Childress, the nose tackle for Toledo.
That's the battle you love to see inside right there. Center, nose tackle, 2 of the veteran guys. Nate Childress, self-made player, very physical, tough. And then Dakota Tallman, the leader of this offensive line, and they're playing center from Elyria Catholic in Cleveland.
The running back is Van, 5'10" senior from South Bend, Indiana. It'll be the quarterback up the middle, and Glass is into the end zone. Eastern Michigan on the board first.
Great job right there, that Eastern offensive line, opening up a big hole for Mike Glass, their quarterback. And for a team that struggled scoring the football this year, can be a victim of slow starts. That is not the case for the Eagles today. Great job right here. Another zone read. Just Mike Glass using that big body and physical athleticism to get downhill.
His first career collegiate start, and he caps it off. A solid drive with a touchdown, and we've got flags down on the extra point, and an Eagle who is slow to get up.
It's nice. It finally feels like football weather outside today, Doug.
Sure does. Don't need a post-game shower after this one necessarily up in the broadcast booth.
Try is good.
Try is good. Looked like a personal foul. Could not see which side that went against, so Doug, we'll see it on the kickoff.
Well, Eastern Michigan off to a good start as it tries to snap its 4-game losing streak. On top early 7-0. 8-yard run set up a 3-yard touchdown run, both by the starting quarterback Mike Glass III, and Eastern Michigan gets on the board first.
And it was great by Mike Glass last week. He was able to get it done with his legs too, over 100 yards on the ground on 17 carries, mixing it up, using some of that athleticism, using some speed, and he's a very thick guy, can run through some tackles. And when he gets on the edge, he can be difficult for those defensive backs to bring down. Kind of a unique quarterback, working on his arm, but he is a creator, Chris Creighton said, and that is what the Eagles need out of him today. And due to a personal foul now, the Eagles will be kicking off from the 50-yard line, so I anticipate nothing more than a touchback, Doug.
Chad Ryland. Actually, Jesse Kelly handles the kickoffs. Chad Ryland, the place kicker. Kelly, no problem. Putting it through the end zone. And so Toledo's high-powered offense comes onto the field for the first time, averaging 46.4 points per game, tops in the MAC, 10th most per game in the country, led by quarterback Mitch Guadani.
And Mitch Guadani was out last week. He suffered an injury a few weeks ago against Fresno State, did not play. Eli Peters had to come in, but he's athletic. He can get it done with his legs, and then he wants to use that trio of receivers that can really stretch the field and get it done on offense.
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson boys, Deontay number 3, John Bay number 7, and then Cody Thompson number 25, who we talked about off the top. 3 receivers who very well may have NFL futures.
As we take a look at some of the players that impact the game today, Mitch Guadani, the quarterback for the Rockets, not only can he get it done through the air, 10 touchdown passes, but also he can get it done off schedule. Not a lot of designed runs, but very, very good with his legs scrambling. And then on the other side, Kyle Rockwall, preseason All-MAC, plays smart. He's a captain, he's physical, and he can really help this Eagle defense.
False start, offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Yazid Atariwa back in the lineup, senior from Sterling, Virginia, called for the penalty.
As you see Brody Hoying right there, very, very athletic guy. Kind of does it all. He's a Swiss Army knife back there in the secondary. He's been battling some shoulder injuries all season long, but last season was a huge impact player for the Eagles, being able to get it done in the run game and in the pass. So he's a guy that really hasn't had that type of production that you've wanted to see so far this year, but he's a guy that you can't keep off the field because he's such a smart, instinctual player coming out of the Northwest Ohio powerhouse, Coldwater, small school, but they always seem to produce great players.
Well, we talked about the Toledo wide receiver corps. Let's take a closer look at Johnson, and Thompson. They are all game breakers.
They are, and they can all do it a little bit differently. Cody Thompson, started out on special teams, did a little bit there. Very physical guy. You've got the speed of John Vay Johnson down the field, and then Deontay kind of does a little bit of everything. 2 big returns for touchdowns called back last week in the return game. She's critically involved in special teams as well.
As we mentioned, this is Guadani's return to the lineup at quarterback for Toledo. He actually cleared concussion protocol before last week's game, but in an abundance of caution and their reliance on backup quarterback Eli Peters, Toledo had Peters get the start. He is available in reserve.
And we see this stingy Eagles defense on display early in the game. And this was a little bit what Jason Kendall worried about, is the fact that they need to stay ahead of the chains. Didn't want to see a lot of 3rd and longs where they can get impatient. The Eagles defense doesn't take a lot of risk, but what they play very, very well and force you to execute.
Shaquille Seymour, the running back, from the slot. Throw over the middle, caught just across the 30-yard line, well short of the line to get. John Vay Johnson, the senior from Gary, Indiana, picks up 7, but that'll bring up 4th down.
Well short of the first down. Jalen Phelps right there, the backup safety coming in to make a play, and that's what they want to try to do. This defense, Neil Netherly talked about it. Netherly says, hey, we'll give you 7 yards, but it's 3rd and 15, we're going to get off the field.
Fair catch called for. Blake Banham secured it, and that takes us to break. Well, the high-powered Toledo offense goes 3 and out. Eastern Michigan's offense will come back out with a 7-0 lead. We've got another penalty marker on the field.
Kick catch interference, number 25 of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty, 1st down. Now.
Well, that's Cody Thompson, who is not only an all-conference wide receiver, he is also an all-conference special teamer, but not on that play. We'll step away and come back to Ypsilanti in a moment. With Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman at Eastern Michigan, where on their first possession, Mike Glass III drove his team into the end zone.
And it was the Glass show. He got it done last week with his legs and started off fast today. Critical component of this offense, trying to be able to be a creator, keep the defense honest. He was able to do that to start the game. Coming back out here now for the 2nd drive.
And you'll see tricks and gadgets from this offense, especially when Mike Glass is in there at quarterback. But don't think for a second he doesn't have a good arm, because he does. I saw firsthand as Glass may have lost that football. It's on the turf.
Scrum, and it looks like the Eagles were able to recover it. Lining up now for a 2nd 10, and that's so Mike Glass can give you. He'll drop back. They were in an empty set. All the receivers down the field, pocket collapse. He's able to step up. And unfortunately, he loses the football. But good for the Eagles, he was able to recover.
Poked out cleanly by Reggie Howard, the defensive tackle.
Looks like Glass was able to scoop it back in there. Not before probably getting beat up a little bit at the bottom of the pile.
Well, what would you know about that? Come on.
Most of those quarterbacks, they don't like to reach their arms out there. That's what makes a living for them. You've got big offensive and defensive linemen fall all around. It's not a great scenario.
I was mentioning week 3 when Glass came off the bench at Buffalo with consecutive touchdown bombs of 76 and 75 yards. Here on the screen pass, solid pickup on 2nd down. fighting his way across midfield is Blake Banham, the senior receiver out of St. Paul, Minnesota.
The senior captain, Blake Banham. Just throw it out to him over there, little quick screen, and let him do the rest. He's a very physical guy, not the biggest guy in the world at only 5'9", but very stout, almost 200 pounds. You saw the strength there. And this does a great job for Eastern. Keeps him ahead of the chains, 3rd and short. And I wouldn't be surprised if we got another dose of Mike Glass the third.
And there is the dose of Glass, carrying defenders another 5 or 6 yards inside the 40. It'll be first down at the Toledo 39-yard line.
Mike Glass listed at 6'2", 212, but he's got some thick legs. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a little closer to 220 as you watch him drag defenders. And they run the zone read here, fakes the jet sweep coming across, a little power coming around, and he is pulling Rocket defenders for another 5 yards after contact.
Quick swing pass, Arthur Jackson III. And he's wrestled down to the turf by Richard Olakema, senior linebacker from Downers Grove, Illinois.
Olakema, the steady force, is how Brian George described him. He's going to be all over the field. He'll make some plays for him, but they're just really, really impressed with what he's able to do, consistent each and every day.
On 2nd and 3, handed off Shaq Van for a first down inside the 30-yard line.
And early returns in this game, very positive for this Eagles offensive line. They've been able to get a solid push, and I think a lot of it's the tempo that was set on that first drive. Doug, when you saw Mike Glass breaking tackles, running around, Toledo now forced to respect him. They're going one safety deep. They're giving more single coverage on the outside. But it's not really mattering as Shaq Van's getting downhill and picking up 3 or 4 yards.
Yeah, Bobby, through his first 3 years at Eastern, Shaq Van averaged 5.5 yards per carry this season coming into today. Not nearly as much, under 4 yards per carry, but again, he's got space to maneuver, and he gets down to the 21-yard line.
Well, and Van last week was pretty good. Not the huge numbers, 15 rushes for 54 yards, but you see him get out in the open field. He can break tackles. He runs hard. He's a leader of this team, and he's a guy that's been the inspiration for him. You know, the Eagles started off big win at Purdue. They've lost a handful of games down in a row, and Chris Creighton loves to meet with the seniors on Sunday night. And they lost 4 in a row, and they're kind of worried, Doug, how's this season going to turn? And you'd love to see some leadership. Shaq Van steps up and said, Coach, it's going to take more than a couple of losses to throw us off track.
And it's going to take a little more Toledo defense to stop number 9 at Eastern, Mike Glass III, with his 2nd rushing touchdown of the afternoon.
I thought for Eastern to have a chance to win this game, it'd have to be low scoring. I thought all the scoring would come on the Toledo side with that talented group of wide receivers. Did not anticipate the Glass effect of him being able to get out on the perimeter, outrunning the Rocky defenders. And I don't know if anyone got a hand on him before he touched the end zone.
22 yards on the touchdown with another flag on the gray turf here in Ypsilanti.
After the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 74, Eastern Michigan. 15-yard penalty. That is his first unsportsmanlike conduct foul of the game.
That would be Steve Nielsen, junior from Denmark, called for the unsportsmanlike conduct.
Got better ears than I do, Doug. I can hardly hear that. You see Mike Glass right there turning the corner. They'd have to have somebody that's responsible for the quarterback. I know Brian George probably brought him over to the sideline after that first drive. Hey, Glass is the one that's playing. We're going to change up our defensive scheme. And that's what's tough when you defend 2 quarterbacks, because the calls are going to change fairly significantly, whether you have Tyler Wiegers in there or Mike Glass, based upon the strengths of each player. Wiegers more of a pocket passer, maybe push the ball down the field. Glass, the creator with his legs. And it looks early like the Rockets have not prepared as thoroughly for Glass as they would have liked.
Chad Ryland kicks it through, and the score is 14-0. Well, Mike Glass came on in relief in 5 of the first 6 games of the year for Eastern Michigan. Didn't get in the Northern Illinois game. He's getting his first career start today, and so far so good.
You see him get on the perimeter right there and just outrunning the defense. There really wasn't a whole lot of contention there for him. DeJuan Johnson on the edge, defensive end, over squeezed, didn't respect the speed of Glass, and he just is able to outrun him to the sideline.
I think you're right, Bobby. Nobody touched him. You and I were about as close as any of those Toledo defenders. And so Glass able to take a break, and a great start for his first career start. You know, the season got underway with such promise here at Eastern Michigan. They blew out Monmouth, and then the big win at West Lafayette where they beat Purdue 20-19, and then you had that Week 3 MAC showdown between 2-0 Buffalo, 2-0 Eastern. You thought, here we go. If they can pick up a road win in Western New York, that would further cement this team as a contender. But they lost that game by 7, and then since that time, they've dropped 3 consecutive games by 3 points each time, including 2 in overtime.
And so you worry about the psychological impact that can have on your team if you're Chris Creighton. You're losing these close games. You beat Purdue, everybody's riding high, and you worry about guys, giving up on the season. That's why I think Shaq Van's stepping up and saying, hey, it's going to take more than a couple of losses for us to throw in the towel. And that is a very, very telling statement, a very important statement that need to be made by one of the veteran players.
You know, Neil Nethery, the defensive coordinator for Eastern, as that return comes out to the 40-yard line by Deontay Johnson. He said, you know, last year we suffered through here at Eastern a 6-game losing streak. Didn't lose the guys then. We certainly haven't lost them in this 4-game slide, and that is in evidence here early on against Toledo. And the star of our show, at least so far this afternoon, back to the referee, Amanda Sauer-Cook.
During the return, holding, number 40, 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Correction, it was on number 45. First down.
That's Trayshawn Wilson, sophomore linebacker from Montgomery, Alabama.
It's after the personal foul, Toledo forcing to be kicked from deep in their own territory, have some nice starting field position, and then give a lot of that back with a holding call on the return.
Toledo comes in 3-2 overall, 1-0 in conference play. On play action, Guadani can't go anywhere. He is dropped for a loss at the 28-yard line.
And that's Max Crosby, the defensive end, all MAC last year. Very, very talented on the outside, long, athletic. You can see him use those long arms, get a hold of Guadani. Where are you going? Nowhere. And he's got Brody Hoy coming in to help finish it off. They're swarming to the football. And why wouldn't they be inspired, up 14 points early in the first quarter?
Tackle made by C.J. Hunt, defensive tackle for Eastern. And you know this Eagles defense a year ago was #1 in the MAC in total defense and scoring defense. And while they lost players to graduation, they did have a couple of all-conference players coming back. We've talked about Brody Hoying, the safety, but also co-captain Jeremiah Harris, the bull position up front. But both of those guys are playing hurt this year.
They've been banged up, but they're tough players. They care about it. And you have to keep them out on the field because of the playmaking ability they have. Facing a big third down right here. It looks like they may be bringing a little pressure up the top.
On 3rd and 8, he was looking for Thompson. The pressure gets to him. Guadani goes down. It's our first sack of the afternoon. Teron Rush, the sophomore from Charleston, West Virginia, with his 2nd sack of the year.
They're going to slide him in there. They move him down inside, use that athleticism from a defensive end to play a little 3 technique inside. Does a great job coming underneath on a stunt. And what a terrific job being able to get to Guadani and wrestle him to the ground.
Bailey Flint just able to get that punt away. Banham going to return it. Made the first 3 guys miss, able to pick up 4 yards on the return, and Eastern Michigan will get the football back.
Not before we get to see another visit from the star of the show as we have a flag.
Eastern Michigan off to a 14-0 lead, and they've got their backup for the year, Mike Glass in the starting role, Tyler Wiegers coming off the bench, and you see the numbers coming in comparison. Bobby, the numbers I like, combined between the two of them, touchdown to interception, 11-2.
They haven't turned the football over, and that's what's kept the Eagles in every game. As you can see right there, Wiegers does a little bit better with his arm, Glass a little bit more with his legs. but they've both been able to move the football. The question will be today, now for Chris Creighton, do you get Uyghurs in the game at all? You've been rotating the guys back and forth, Glass getting the first start, playing so well you don't want to disrupt that. But at some point, if there is any struggle or maybe Toledo begins to overload the box, do you try to stretch the football down the field?
Now, Uyghurs is a grad transfer from Iowa who was so good week 2 in the upset of Purdue. He was the MAC Divisional Offensive Player of the Week based on what he did against the Boilers. Here's Glass on first down. Wide open hole up the middle. Untouched inside the 20. Walking into the end zone. Willie Parker, the redshirt sophomore from Tampa. And just like that, it is 20-0 Eastern.
Well, and that's fast Willie Parker right there showing the speed, and I believe he was untouched coming in. And this is the Mike Glass effect right here. When you have a quarterback that can run, you have to respect it. They fake it. Defensive ends are slow on the edge. Linebackers leaning outside. And Jordan Fisher right there gets out of his gap as Willie Parker runs right downhill. You start peeking at the quarterback, and all of a sudden you decide to hand it off untouched to the end zone.
I tell you what, Willie Parker had been handed the football 12 times this year coming in and picked up 12 total yards, 1 yard per carry, and this one doesn't get any better. Up the middle untouched for the long touchdown.
You can see right there, Jordan Fisher, number 2, the linebacker, starts peeking in the backfield, looks at Glass, jumps outside. There's no one left to handle Parker. And Doug, that'll really help your yards per carry average to lop on a nice long touchdown run.
50 yards by Parker.
See Parker looking around. I think he didn't even believe that he could be that wide open. No running back anticipates running right down the middle of the field untouched. It's a dream come true. And talked about early in the game, you want to keep it a low-scoring game if you're Eastern Michigan. Don't think you can get in a shootout with them. I did not anticipate 21 unanswered first half points.
Well, I think if we asked both head coaches, they wouldn't have anticipated this either. 51 were scored in the opener by Eastern Michigan against Monmouth, but since that time, they had not scored more than 28 in a game, and well on their way here this afternoon.
Another flag on the field. Looks like it's going to be holding against the Rockets at about the 20-yard line.
Ronnie Jones, junior from Pittsburgh, on the return.
Number 35, 10 yards from the 20-yard line, first down.
And what do you know, a holding penalty against Toledo will push them back.
Not a way you want to start this drive, and the penalties have been aplenty today so far, disproportionately against the Rockets. And Jason Candle, very disciplined coach, cannot be happy with how his team's coming out and playing today. Noon start. Obviously, maybe the alarm didn't go off quite as early as the Rockets would have liked.
Well, Toledo so far has -2 total yards rushing the football, while Eastern has 155. Seam route, completion, Deontay Johnson. And there's that chunk yardage we were talking about, a 30-yard gain on first down.
And this is what we thought we would see out of the Rockets to start the game. A little Mitchell Guadagni play action. Right there, they call that a bang aid or a skinny post. You just get inside of the corner. Kevin McGill does a good job getting him down, but not after a big game.
Quarterback Mitch Guadagni, junior from Hudson, Ohio, looking to pass again, rolling right. Now he'll tuck it, zigzagging past one defender, and it's a gain of 7, maybe 8, out near midfield.
And a great job by Mitchell Guadagni getting out of the pocket right there, seeing that there wasn't much. Rockets going with a little tempo here. Did a great job using his feet to pick up a big gain on first down.
Keep it on the ground. Bryant Kovac still on his feet, and the Kentucky transfer fights his way for 2. He's about a yard shy of the marker.
And talking with Brian Wright, the offensive coordinator, Kovac doesn't do anything spectacular. So all he does is break tackles and make guys miss. Like, we're not sure how to quantify it. You saw it right there. Turned a potential loss into a 3rd and short situation here. And this is going to be a big play right here for the Rockets to keep this offense on the field, give their defense a rest, and try to get some points here on a nice start to this drive.
Tight end Reggie Gilliam in motion.
Changing the play. Factory's getting loud.
Keep it on the ground. First down pickup by Kovac, coming off his career game last Saturday at Bowling Green. He scored 3 touchdowns, all came in the fourth quarter to secure the win. He finished with 90 yards, and on his first drive, he's looked good.
Looked very good right there, just was able to find the edge. Loss contained by the Eagles defense, picked up a first down, and that's just a chain-moving play. This gives Toledo now the opportunity here around the 50, potentially take a shot, use one of these athletic receivers to pick up some big yards and maybe steal a score. Unbalanced formation here as well now.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson wide right. Thompson in the slot. They'll run it again. Brian Kovac, the redshirt freshman, with another good pickup on first down.
Into a little unique formation by Jason Candle. Going to take the tight end, move him over to create 4 receivers on one side. Unbalanced offensive line. Get some leverage against that Eagles defense and allow them to keep running downhill.
Drew Rossi, backup tight end into the ball game. And now unbalanced to the left. Guadani tucks it. He's going to run. Has blockers, and he's got himself another first down. So for the first time here this afternoon, the Toledo offense is on the move.
It's not something that Toledo typically does. A lot of Guadani's plays when he's running the football comes from him scrambling in the pocket, creating plays with his legs in that way. Not a lot of designed runs, as you saw right there. But they want to keep the chains moving here, stay consistent, stay patient. This Eagles defense doesn't give up a lot of big plays. They're going to force you to earn it down the field, and they rely on you getting impatient.
All of those yards for Toledo coming on this drive. Guadani toward the left sideline. Nearly a spectacular one-handed grab, but Cody Thompson could not pull it in. Incomplete pass.
Little high right there by Guadani, but a good job by number 14, Ross Williams. You see him go up here and try to high point it. Gets his hands on the receiver, pulls him down, doesn't allow Cody Thompson to make this spectacular catch.
Under 2 minutes remaining first quarter. Guadani going to run it again. He's got room inside the 20. It's another first down. And into the red zone go the Rockets.
And this is looking like the quarterback show here between Glass and Guadani, using their legs, doing a good job converting, picking up, and that's more Guadani that they like to see. Not the typical called run plays. We're going to have them do it off schedule when the play breaks down. See, it's getting a little chippy and physical over there between number 3, Deontay Johnson, and number 4, Kevin McGill.
And it's Gilliam, the tight end, in motion. Running the football, Brian Kovac trying to turn the corner, and he can't do it. Like a shot on a tackle for loss, but slow to get up is the tackler. And not surprising, it's Brody Hoying, who again suffered a shoulder injury week 1. Didn't play for a couple of weeks and still not nearly 100%.
And as you see right here, doing a good job. Jeremiah Harris on the outside, making it bounce deep. And then that's why they love Brody Hoying out there, because he's physical. He looks like a shot out of a cannon right there to create the tackle for a loss. Came down awkwardly on that shoulder. He's had the injuries in the past. Neil Nethery's talking about him battling through it, continuing to play, and they need him on the field for his playmaking ability. He makes a play right there, but it may have to pay the price.
Yeah, with an already compromised shoulder, it's hard to take a fall like that and not suffer. First team all-conference last year in the back. #1 in the country a year ago with 4 fumble recoveries, and you said it, Bobby, like he shot out of a cannon, just giving up his body.
He does. He went low right there, wraps the legs. Very sound fundamental tackle. Looks like he's bouncing off okay. Sometimes when you have those shoulders or shoulder injuries, they're going to linger. They're going to give you trouble each and every game. Brody Hoying, very, very tough player. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him back in the game. Is this something that's been bothering him most of the season and probably will continue to bother him until season's end?
Yeah, so #7, Ike Calderon, will take over at dog safety. Jalen Phelps, junior from Powder Springs, Georgia, also back there at safety on 2nd down and long. Guadani had the pass go right through the fingertips of Deontay Johnson.
And this is what Eastern Michigan wants to do. They want to force you to continue to execute up and down the field. And head coach Jason Candle was a little bit worried about this, where you get impatient, you try to make plays, where they do just a little bit. You can see maybe even a tip right there. Deontay Johnson just loses it ever so much off of the deflection, and unfortunately isn't able to come down with it. Now the Rocket offense facing a 3rd and 14 in the red zone. Not a situation you want to be in. One thing that you like, though, Mitch Guadani has his legs, and he can always rely on those if needed.
He gets drilled, and the football fumbled, recovered by Eastern Michigan. Wow, what a hit. So after Ty Eddington deflected the last pass, this Eastern defense has bent but has not broken, and they get the football back.
Kind of a rarity for the Eastern defense, bringing some pressure right there. Both linebackers, Jalen Pickett, Kyle Rockwell, and you can see the shot delivered right there to Guadani as he's sitting in the pocket. The question will be, was his arm coming forward? It looks like they'll probably review this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's overturned to an incompletion.
The previous play is under review.
And that's Jeremiah Harris, who had 11 career sacks coming in, the senior from Lambertville, Michigan, but 0 sacks this year up to this point.
And you see Guadani right there taking the shot from Harris. His arm was going forward, and they're going to have to rule at what point did he have possession. Had he stopped a pump fake? Typically, they err on the side of an incompletion right here. As you see the pressure coming, more than they can block. And it goes back to a little bit of the tuck rule there. His arm was moving forward. The ball comes out going forward. I would anticipate they'll rule this an incompletion.
Well, Harris suffered an ACL injury last year in Game 11. He's still bothered by it at times. He was bothered through camp. Looked and felt pretty good at Purdue. But it's really 1 step forward, 2 steps back for the preseason first team All-MAC defensive end.
See the arm coming forward, ball still in hand, and it looks like it slips out at the end. But a great job right there nonetheless by Jeremiah Harris, who you love to see a guy who's been battling through an injury. The ACL late last year, it's bothered him this year during camp. You know, when you're coming into your senior campaign, you always want to make sure that's your best year. And it looks like he's starting to pick it up and finally getting back to that form that he was so good at last season.
Like so many, he has dealt with his share of injuries. Got a medical red shirt in 2015 after suffering a season-ending injury 3 games in. But he still making plays. Blocked a point after at Western Michigan last week, and with the big hit here against Toledo.
A good job right there getting his head and knees down so there was no helmet-to-helmet targeting calls you see so often. That's tough for a guy who's 6'5" when you're tackling a 6'2" quarterback to make sure there's no helmet-to-helmet contact. Good job right there by Jeremiah Harris as we await the verdict on this replay review.
Head coach Jason Candle, last year's MAC Coach of the Year. This Toledo team went 11-3 a year ago.
After review, the ruling on the field, an incomplete pass, 4th down.
So they ruled it an incomplete pass, arm going forward, 4th down Rockets. as I'm sure Jason Kendall will now be trotting out the field goal team.
And so no sack for Jeremiah Harris.
That's the worst. You're stealing a sack from a defensive guy, Doug.
Yep. So his career total stands at 11. Boy, he and Max Crosby, when they are together and healthy, are quite the pair of edge rushers, and with that, they forced the field goal attempt.
Well, you get a pair of MAC defensive ends, both 6'5", weighing in around 250 pounds. Those are long, lean guys that can really pressure the edge and cut down on those throwing lanes.
So here's Jamison Vest, not as consistent this year, but he's an all-conference type. From 35 yards away, plenty of leg, and he's got it. Well, part of the equation for that place-kicking unit has a new snapper, has a new holder this year, but the coaching staff still fully trusts Jamison Vest, who gets Toledo on the board.
That was a big drive right there for the Rockets, able to move the football, something they haven't done in their previous couple drives. A lot of it came on Guadagni's legs, had a nice pass there to Deontay Johnson, but you get down in the red zone, when you're down 21 points, you're going to need to come away with 7. Fortunately, right there, they're able to avoid the turnover with the replay, get the 3, they get on the board, get a little bit of confidence now for this Rockets offense, and we'll see if we begin to see some of those explosive plays now more regularly that we finally got a little taste of there on that last drive.
I'll tell you what, for Eastern Michigan, they couldn't have drawn it up any better than it's gotten off to a start here today. Obviously, the scoreboard tells you a story. But those big 3 wide receivers, Thompson, Deontay Johnson, and John Bay Johnson, have really not going at all. John Bay has 1 catch for 6 yards, Deontay 1 catch for 29 yards, and that's it.
They really haven't had much of an opportunity to throw the ball. There's been pressure. Guadagni's had to pull it down. You know, you have a 3 and out, you're not going to have a chance to really get the ball in the air. So due to some lack of plays, and that's really a big reason why, as we see flags flying, some post-play activity on a touchback, which is going to drive a coach crazy. Looks like this will probably go against Eastern.
Now 2 Eastern players and 1 Toledo player, long after whistles had blown, continued to fight each other out around the 30-yard line.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 9, Eastern Michigan. 15 yards, first down. That is
a couple 15-yarders already today. Some offsides, some holding. Got a little bit of everything. It's been a virtual buffet from the penalty circuit. These are beginning to add up now for both teams, and this is a great opportunity now for Toledo, as Eastern avoided some pretty solid field position, now backed up at their own 12.5 after half the distance to the goal line. If the Rockets are able to get a 3 and out, then they're talking about getting the ball back right around the 50.
A costly penalty against Carthel Flowers, freshman out of Nottingham High School in Syracuse. So the drive begins at the 13 for Eastern. Gain of 4 on first down.
Eagles going again with Willie Parker after his long touchdown run. You put him in, 1 play, 1 touchdown. Usually they rotate by drives, Doug. You probably thought, well, he didn't really get a full day's work there on 1 play. Didn't even get touched. We'll throw him out here one more time and see what he can do.
And Eastern also going without Ian Erickson again this week. The senior running back from Clarkston, Michigan, has missed the last couple of games with an injury. It's not expected to be a season-ending injury, but he is just as valuable as anybody in that offensive backfield for Eastern Michigan.
That is the end of the first quarter.
End of the first quarter, it's been the Mike Glass Show. The junior quarterback with a couple of rushing touchdowns, and the Eagles on top of the Rockets, 21-3. In a penalty-filled first quarter, it has been all Eastern Michigan, and not that the Eagles have been clean, but boy, what a discrepancy. Toledo's already been flagged 8 times.
Well, here's the thing. When you have 70 total yards and then 8 penalties for 70 yards, I guarantee you at halftime that is something that Jason Kendall is going to be addressing with his Rockets defense, offense, and special teams, because it's been a little bit of everything.
No question about it. With former Buckeye Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman here in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Start of quarter number 2 with Eastern Michigan looking to snap its 4-game losing streak, and wide open over the middle is the tight end for a huge gain on first down. Out to the 40-yard line of Toledo.
And that's number 82, Gunnar Oaks. Over the middle, the play action, the Mike Glass effect. As you see him fake it right there, and Oaks just sneaking right in, a little tight end pop pass, no safety in the middle of the field, and a big gain for the big tight end.
Yeah, first time we've seen Gunnar Oaks targeted today after what was a career game at Western Michigan. A week ago, 8 catches, 84 yards, including a one-handed touchdown. Let's show you the impact players as we start the second quarter. On this side of the football, we haven't even talked about Tyler Taff, an outstanding linebacker for the Rockets.
Oh, he's done a great job today. You know, he's trying to get involved, but, you know, unfortunately there's been so many big plays. You know, he hasn't really had the impact. And then Shaq Van, the running back for Eastern's been very solid, but unfortunately he's been overshadowed by his quarterback Mike Glass and then his backfield mate Willie Parker, who has a big touchdown already.
Well, the Toledo defense flexes its muscles there, saying not this time. Reggie Howard with the tackle for loss.
And now the Eagles will face their second third down of the game. They're 1 for 1 in the first quarter. As you can finally see, big number 97, Reggie Howard, getting in the backfield, very explosive, very disruptive, needs to be more consistent. But because of that TFL, Eastern now facing a 3rd and 10. In a situation where Mike Glass will probably have to put the ball in the air, actually down the field. Eastern, I don't think, has completed a pass or attempted one of over 5 to 10 yards.
Glass gets rid of it quickly over the middle. Ball comes loose, and they say it was never secured, so it's an incomplete pass. Nice job to get a hand in there by the linebacker, Richard Olakema.
And a good job by Olakema sitting there, not biting and going all the way outside. Closing down on Banham as Banham juggled it. Should have probably brought it down, but still would have been able to tackle Banham short of the sticks. At that point, sitting at the 35, 32-yard line with only a couple yards to go on 4th down. I could have seen Eastern trying to convert. So a big play there for the Rockets defense.
Now Toledo trying to wrestle momentum away from Eastern Michigan. Timeout going to be called by the Eagles, who at least, even though they're in punt formation, flip the field with that big pass play.
30-second timeout, Eastern Michigan.
Because you've got to be leery of this Toledo offense. You don't want to give them the football too much because, again, they average 46.5 points per game, 10th most in the country.
When you have a trio of wide receivers like the Rockets do, it's only a matter of time if you're going to continue to let them get the ball in good situations. Now, fortunately for the Eagles, they've been controlling the football. They have 21 points. They've had a lot of plays. And the Eagles defense has done a good job of limiting the amount of plays the Rockets can get. They have forced some 3-and-outs. They haven't allowed them to drive the football, really. But when you have those receivers, like you said, Doug, you're one play away from being in it. Deontay Johnson can take the top off. John Vay Johnson can also do the same. Then you have Cody Thompson, who's big and steady. It's tough to keep all of those guys locked in for an entire game.
Well, last year in Toledo, that's only about 50 miles from here. These two campuses not far apart. Against the Eagles, Cody Thompson suffered a season-ending broken leg that led to surgery, and his coaches said, we think it's probably on his mind wanting to play well. A terrible decision to receive that punt by Deontay Johnson. What on earth was he thinking at the 2-yard line?
I'm glad you said that and not me, Doug. That's why the coaches tell you, you line up at the 5 or the 7-yard line, maybe the 10, wherever it's going to be, and they say do not back up. Wow. If the ball is going over your head, let it go. But this is what happens sometimes when you become impatient. With this Eastern D being so good, as you see Max Crosby there, the veteran defensive end, getting at him. And look at that, right up the middle with some more pressure. And now forcing a play down the field. Cody Thompson almost coming up with it, but it wasn't to be. And now we see Brody Hoying, the big impact safety, making a play on the perimeter.
And so now Toledo being conservative on first down after that poor decision by the all-conference electric returner Deontay Johnson. Again, he leads the league in kick returns at 34 per attempt. He had a couple of kick returns last week for touchdown brought back.
One kickoff return, one punt return, both called back last week. But when you only have one target in the first quarter, you're not having success. Sometimes you want to try to get a little bit more involved. And And that's where Deontay just makes the ill-advised play.
Flag on the play. It's going to go against Ross Williams. He was trying to slow down John Vay Johnson, who never turned his head until the ball was already released. But perhaps there's a reason why.
Pass interference, defense, number 14. The ball will be placed on the foul. First down.
So we've seen Ross Williams make a good play, the senior from Southfield, Michigan, whose father, Tyrone Williams, was a Michigan State track and field captain back in the late 70s and early 80s, with a bad play. So a penalty helps Toledo get away from the shadow of the goal line.
So Eastern Michigan runs a lot of cover 4, quarters coverage. They're going to put their corners on an island a lot. They're going to ask them to stop these talented wide receivers on the perimeter. When you do that, there's the ability to get inside. They love running the slants. As you saw the little slant and go right there by John Vay Johnson, making the big play after a huge gain. And when you get beat on the slant, you're going to jump inside. And right there, John Vay able to run the post corner. And a nice ball thrown out there by Mitch Guadani.
35 yards on the play.
Injury timeout on the field.
See John Vay down, pop back up. You're going to have to come out for a play, but appears to be okay. And sometimes when you go up like that, you come down on your back, possibly, maybe just knock the wind out of himself.
John Vay Johnson with the big pass reception. Toledo on the move. Still, though, trailing big, 21-3 Eastern. The defending champs in the MAC from Toledo, trailing Eastern Michigan 21-3. And if you looked at the series history, you wouldn't have expected this to be the case. But Eastern Michigan trying to build anew here in Ypsilanti under fifth-year head coach Chris Creighton.
Chris Creighton's done a great job of changing the culture. If you're going to look probably at the series history of Eastern Michigan and most MAC schools, it's going to look similar to that of Toledo. Not a lot of success through their history, but Chris Creighton has come in here and done a great job of changing the expectations about what it means to be an Eastern Michigan Eagle.
Mitch Guadani slides. They're going to mark it at the 42-yard line, so a good decision on first down. He picks up 5.
Both of these quarterbacks today getting it done with their legs, and that's been keeping their team ahead of the chains, putting them in positive yardage situations. Guadani is the leading rusher, even after missing a game for the Toledo Rockets, and looking to keep a little more of that going this afternoon.
Guadani hands it off this time up the middle for a first down. Gain of 6 by Shaquille Seymour, sophomore running back from Cleveland.
And now you see the first down. The Rockets want to be on the move and start going up tempo.
Guadani, big hole up the middle one more time. He gains 9 on first down. And so, like you say, up tempo, and they're starting to move the football again. Second sustained drive in a row for the Rockets.
And when you're an up-tempo team, the only way you can get to go up-tempo is by picking up first downs and maintaining possession of the football. The Rockets have been able to do that a little bit better on these last 2 drives. And now you see them starting to gash this Eagles defense a little bit.
And the big guys up front, Cameron Bell, Sammy Kassam, Bryce Harris, doing the job. Brock Rubel as well. Thompson was targeted, but the ball was well overthrown out of bounds.
Well, and right there they throw a little change up. Eastern Michigan typically plays a lot of quarters coverage, which means those corners are manned up on the outside. Right there, I think you saw a little bit of cover 2, the safety deep over the top to take some stress off of them, and a nice change up on the call by defensive coordinator Neil Nethery.
So on 3rd down and 1, what will offensive coordinator Brian Wright dial up here? Flags before the snap.
That could be a false start here.
False start, offense, number 64. 5-yard penalty, means 3rd down.
And never a good situation when you go from a 3rd and 1 where you really just need to pick up a yard. You have a bevy of options, whether you want to throw some quick passing game, run your quarterback, run your running back. Now all of a sudden you're facing a 3rd and 6. And defensively, you can get a little bit more exotic with what you're able to do as we take another look at this false start.
And what that also does is push you back to the edge of your field goal range for Jamison Vest. Not that you want to settle for 3 again on this drive. And another flag and another procedure call.
False start. Vest. 5-yard penalty. Replay, 3rd down.
So, Doug, that's how you turn a 3rd and 1 into a 3rd and 11. Real quick, without even snapping the football and running a play. And they went from a great situation there. If you're Toledo, they took a shot on 2nd and 1, figured why not? We can convert on 3rd and 1. Well, 2 procedure penalties later, now you're facing a 3rd and 11. Much different scenario. Eastern can sit back and play coverage if they want to press, but looks like they're going to probably bring 3, drop 8. Very difficult coverage to try to throw it into if you're Mitchell Guadani.
On the crossing route, Deontay Johnson gets most of it back. They say he went out of bounds at the 25-yard line. And, well, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 11, doesn't matter. That's good for a 1st down.
Well, when you have Deontay Johnson, the speed that he has, the quickness, the change of direction, being able to catch an underneath route right here, which was by design, him running full speed into that zone coverage, you can't do anything about it. He turns the corner, picks up 11, and a 1st down for the Rockets.
Keep it on the ground up the middle. That Eastern Michigan defense pushing back after a gain of 2. And notice number 24 in green is back out there. Brody Hoying left the game earlier with a re-aggravated shoulder injury.
And I think that's going to be probably a theme for the rest of the season for him. But Brody Hoying, a tough player, going to be out here, very impactful guy, very instinctual. It's the Swiss Army knife. He does it all. They bring him on pressure. They drop him into coverage. And you can see how he can impact and help that run game as well.
Kind of a wishbone look with Deontay Johnson in the backfield along with running back Art Tompkins. Deontay Johnson goes in motion left. Throwing deep over the middle. And the diving breakup beautifully at the goal line by Ross Williams.
And so that's the cover 4 quarters beater right there. They're going to run the number 2 receiver. You see him breaking in underneath to pull the safety up. That puts the corner man-to-man on the outside. Trying to hit number 80, Bryce Mitchell, going over the top as you see Brody being sucked down inside with Vince Calhoun. And unfortunately there weren't able to connect it for the Rockets, but it was the right play call. It was executed well, just a little bit over the top with some great coverage by Ross Williams in the back end.
On 3rd and 9. Here comes the pressure. Guadani gonna try and turn the corner and does inside the 20. He steps out of bounds at the 16. And so now that'll bring up 4th down and 1.
That's what Guadani can bring you, a lot like Mike Glass, very athletic guy. If it breaks down, he can pull it down and force those defenders out of coverage to come up and make a decision. And it looks like the Rockets are going to try to go for it. And I like Jason Candle's decision right here. Be aggressive. You didn't expect to be in a game like this, being down 21-3. Your offense is starting to roll a little bit. You've had some penalties to bog you down, but see if you can use this athletic quarterback and your big physical offensive line to pound it in for 1 yard.
You got to get to the 15. And he's not going to get there. Bryant Koback gang tackled by the guys in green.
And that was a heck of a job by Brian Koback to even make it that close. He's hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, twisting, turning, fighting. As you can see him get the ball, nothing really up front. A great job by that D-line as they fight, they battle, they scrap, and it looks like the Toledo Rockets are going to be coming up short on 4th and 1.
Well, the Toledo offense is starting to move the football, but still the Rockets have just 3 points on the board to show for it.
And there's a big reason why. The penalties now up to 10 penalties for 80 yards see if they can crack the century mark before the first half's over, Doug. I'm sure Jason Candle will be really excited about that.
I'm guessing when you were a Buckeye, that wouldn't have gone over real well in the halftime locker room.
Oh, goodness. I mean, 80 penalty yards isn't good for an entire game. You have 9 minutes left in the first half.
And so the Eastern offense back out there after stopping Toledo on downs. Nice run on first down for Mike Glass. That's been the starting formula for the most part this afternoon for Eastern.
Well, here's the good news, is they actually were able to get a couple hands on Mike Glass before he picked up 5 yards. As you can see him here, but he's so big and physical, running the zone read. There's one missed tackle too, and now the Eagles are rolling again.
Arthur Jackson III, the junior out of Wood High School in Oakland, California, pushed out of bounds. And not until he picks up another Eastern first down.
Arthur Jackson, athletic guy, physical guy, 6 foot, 185 pounds, but that has been the extension of the running game today. Their passing game, it's really been quick screens, try to stretch the field 53 yards wide, as Eastern really hasn't taken any shot over 10 to 15 yards down the field.
First and 10 at the 41. Poorly thrown pass by Glass, trying to find Blake Banham on a screen, and so that'll bring up second down.
And so this is where you feel better if you're Toledo. Now you were fortunate enough to get an incompletion, as we see Eastern substituting in and out some of their offensive line. A little unique thing that they do, they like to play 7 guys up front. And typically you see defensive lines rotated, but not really on the offensive side. Over there on the left, they'll rotate both tackle and guard positions. Chris Creighton said we have 7 guys that can play. Why not get all 7 guys out there?
Yeah, keep them fresh, and if you lose somebody by injury, that means somebody else is more ready to go. Although they struggled against Bowling Green last week, they've been doing well so far here today. Pass caught. Brett Turner makes a man miss. Down to the 30-yard line. It's a 29-yard pickup from Glass.
What a great design right there. They get Turner out of the backfield, isolated, one-on-one. He makes the play, and a lot of that had to do with just scheme.
Now they hand it to Turner. He picks up 2.
But I love what Chris Creighton was able to do there on that last play. They start off 2 receivers at a tight end to left, little motion, little shift, flip the back over. And because of that, there's a little bit of confusion. Toledo's sitting in some man, and all of a sudden you turn a guy free. He breaks the tackle and picks up 20-plus yards for an explosive game.
Yeah, big missed tackle by Kadar Holman. On second down, design draw for the quarterback, and Glass again goes untouched. Well into the defensive secondary. Inside the 10-yard line, it's first and goal, Eastern Michigan.
Oh, and what a great move right here by number 9, Mike Glass, the quarterback on the draw. Whoop, right there on the linebacker, Tyler Taff, unfortunately for him. But a great run by Mike Glass.
Now playing with tempo. That was a handoff to Blake Banham, who actually is a converted running back, former walk-on, who is now one of the big scholarship players for Eastern.
You see right there the athleticism, the agility by Mike Glass, and then pouring on the speed afterwards for a big game. Had 100 yards rushing last week. I'm not sure if he's cracked that yet, but he's well on pace to do so today.
On second and goal, they fake the handoff to Banham. Up the middle, Shaq Van. There goes the push toward the goal line. And Toledo finally able to bring him down at the 1.
And if you're Toledo, and you're facing a team coming off 3 losses, you want to make sure you get on them early and eliminate their spirit. Instead, they get the big lead, and now you see this big push and the energy by the Eastern Michigan Eagles. They are running the football with a purpose and a passion. They believe in their head coach, Chris Creighton. Mike Glass has energized this offense. And now they're knocking on the door one more time.
Glass has already picked up 127 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns, trying to make it 3. Still no signal, and he was down with just inches to go.
And a great job there with the athleticism by Mike Glass. Dakota Talman kind of airmailed the snap as you see him go up and get it. Fortunately, this wasn't a huge negative yardage play. And that took all of Mike Glass's 6-foot frame right there to go up and get it.
So what do you do here on 4th down?
Well, this is go all the way if I'm Chris Creighton.
And where do you go with it?
Where do I go with it?
Give it to Glass.
I'm giving it to Glass.
There you go.
I mean, he's been turning it in for me all day, producing when you needed him most. You have a chance right now to really put the hammer on the Rockets. And even if you don't, you're going to force them to drive 99 yards. I like what my defense is doing.
Timeout, Eastern Michigan.
Timeout Eastern Michigan, but I have confidence in my offense to be able to hammer it in. They've been able to run the football seemingly at will all day, Doug.
Yeah, they've rushed it 18 times for 201 yards, an average of 11.2 yards per attempt. Glass also throwing the football well, 6 of 8 for 100 yards.
You see Glass right here using that athleticism, a big play that really broke this drive open. He's a big physical guy. I guarantee you the offensive linemen are going to the sideline. They're getting big push. They're fighting. These guys are dragging them in. They want to go for it on 4th down. They want to finish this thing off with the touchdown. And the Toledo Rockets, reeling a little bit, are provided a great opportunity here. If they can hold them out, you have to feel like you're shifting the momentum a little bit.
The running back is Van in a traditional I formation with a fullback. Let's see which way they go. Glass under center on 4th and goal with less than a yard to go. Glass going to hand to Van, and he's into the end zone. Touchdown! Eastern Michigan with a 24-point lead.
I'm not sure Toledo knew what hit him on that last play. Mike Glass under center. Van lined up in a traditional I. You would have thought it was 1998, not 2018. Look at the surge right there by the Toledo defensive line, but it matters not as Van does a good job sliding to the outside, finding the end zone, and then battling that last half yard to get in.
Well, Coach Creighton told us earlier this week that he wants to kiss his running back, Shaq Van, on the lips. And that was coming out of their senior meeting on Sunday because he's keeping this team focused and playing hard. I'm guessing you might want to pucker up here.
Absolutely. What a great job there by Shaq Van, battling into the end zone. 28-3 Eagles in the factory. Filling in for the injured Vince Calhoun, doing a good job at safety, helping step up and make some plays.
Move the chains again. 3rd consecutive drive that we have seen Toledo move the football, but they still have only 3 points to show for it. The penalties have been a big problem. They've had a couple of drives stall out.
Injury timeout on the field.
Injury timeout is Ike Calderon. He's down on the knee.
Calderon looking like they're working on his shoulder a little bit. Vince Calhoun rolling back in. Those guys, they get nicked up, they like to rotate them all. They deserve to play, try to get them on the field and coming up at the half. What it's like to replace a legend, Doug.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that. You might know something about that. We've got a real neat feature by Gene Wojciechowski about Virginia Tech's passing of the torch. And my partner will talk about a similar circumstance many years ago at his alma mater, Ohio State. We also have our scores from around the MAC. Update the MAC standings for you on a busy afternoon. And, of course, our first half highlights and statistics, which have so far been dominated by the home team. But Toledo again on the move from midfield. 1st down and 10. By and large, this Eastern defense has bent but not broken. Yeah, they continue to make it tough on Guadani. Big hit by Vince Calhoun to jar that ball loose from Deontay Johnson. And
that's what feels good. Ike Calderon goes out. Vince Calhoun comes right in. He's got the strong personality. You bring the pressure up the middle, and it forces Guadani to get the ball out quick. Good job right there by Pickett. And then you have Calhoun. You're matching the coverage to the rush. They close down their spacing and do a great job of forcing a 2nd and 10.
Big hit by the all-conference nickelback out of Middletown, Ohio.
The Middies, home of Chris Carter.
All he does is catch touchdown.
Absolutely.
Guadani fires his strike, caught at the 45-yard line. Jonve Johnson able to pick up 6 yards. That'll bring up 3rd down and 4.
And if you notice this Eastern Michigan defense, they've got a lead right now. This is exactly how they want to be playing. We're going to give you 5. We're going to give you 7. We're not going to give you the explosive games. We don't need to. We can even allow you to move the football because it's going to take time. And when you have a big lead like this, time is on your side.
Still plenty of time on the clock remaining in the half for Toledo. Down to the 2:15 mark. Guadani turns the corner and picks up another Toledo first down.
But not before we have a flag in the secondary. Looks like it's going to be a holding call against the Eagles. First down was picked up. That would give them an automatic first down, so the chains should be moving regardless. What a nice run, though, by Mitchell Guadani.
Had a lot of traffic in the backfield. Waited for it to clear. Took off to the right and picked up that first down.
Holding. Defense. Number 4. 10-yard penalty added to the end of the run. First down.
That's against the junior from Waldorf, Maryland, Kevin McGill.
So these corners have played really well. They've held up today, both Ross Williams and McGill, even Freddie McGee. Occasionally going to get caught tugging a little bit, trying to play against these very elite and talented receivers.
Tight end Rossi, the motion man, on first down and 10. Guadani being chased. Nice job to come up from his middle linebacker position by Kyle Rockwall to blow that play up.
Yeah, Kyle Rockwall comes in, forces him out of the pocket. You see Jalen Pickett then coming up out of coverage to help chase Guadani off the field to the sideline, forcing the sack right there in a 2nd and 12. You see Toledo trying to take a shot, looking down the field and trying to get these receivers in play. And it's just such a great job by this Eastern secondary of not giving up the explosive gains so far today.
2nd and 12, quick pass completed at the 35-yard line, but Eastern Michigan's going to drop him for a 2-yard loss. An inspired effort by the Eagles. McGill, after having just been called for the penalty, comes up with a big play.
So another injured Rocket, I believe, on the field. Looks like it's Deontay Johnson right there, number 3.
Yeah, there are 2 players down there right next to each other.
You see the little tunnel screen there by Johnson coming back across them. He has the ball in his hand. Neil Nethery, the defensive coordinator, that's like a heart attack waiting to happen. The amount of anxiety, you see how many tackles he can break. So athletic, but a swarming Eagles defense able to get him down. But this is not a good situation here for the Rockets. Deontay Johnson, their first-team All-MAC performer from a year ago. Big contributor in both special teams and offense. The return man, able to get it done, but being helped to the sideline very gingerly. And then we also see an injured Eagle coming to the side as well.
That's Desmond Kelly, the defensive tackle from Baltimore. Not being able to put any weight on that left foot. So a costly play both ways with 1:36 remaining in the half. You know, Athlon preseason put out that Toledo, in its estimation, had the number 8 in the country wide receiver group. Ole Miss was 1, West Virginia 2. At 8, Toledo slotted between Clemson and Ohio State.
It's not a bad place to be, but they need all 3 of those guys to be out there. And now a big 3rd and 15 for the Rockets trying to get back on the board. But not before a penalty flag is thrown, as it looks like it's going to be a false start on the left tackle, Cameron Bell.
False start. Offense. 3rd down.
Correction, I think that's 68.
Mitchell Berg.
And now you go from a 3rd and 15 to a 3rd and 21. Not a ton of plays you have in the playbook for this. Sitting at about the 39-yard line. This may be a situation, Doug, where for Jason Candle, let's see if we can get 10 to 12 yards, put ourselves back in field goal range, and at least get some sort of points out of this drive.
And again, the active leader in career receiving yardage in the country, Cody Thompson, has yet to catch a pass. John Vay Johnson with a diving attempt, but Jalen Phelps on defense continues to step up for Eastern.
And a risky pass right there by Guadani, trying to bang it in to John Vay Johnson on the dig. Ricochets off Jalen Phelps. What a great play right there. It's a bold throw, nice throw, just a little bit out in front. That's one that you hope that your receiver can go make a play for you right in the heart of that Eagles secondary.
Going to go for it on 4th down and 20.
Well, they're kind of in no man's land here. Do you punt? It's too far for a field goal. Maybe you throw it up. Hopefully you get a PI.
Guadani in trouble, and he goes down.
Kyle Rockwall, the safety, or the middle linebacker, coming up, tracking down Guadani, would not be denied as Mitch tried to move around. And this Eagles defense is jacked. The offense is ready to go. The factory is on fire here today in Ypsilanti, Michigan.
I tell you what, the defensive coordinator, Neil Nethery, told us earlier this week, and I found it surprising that, you know, he says that Kyle Rockwall has become a smart player this year. He's still instinctive, always been a playmaker, but it took until his senior year to be labeled as a smart player.
And that's funny that Neil put that out there. He said 5 years, he's been starting for you for 3. He finally just became the smart guy. Said he's always been very instinctual. He's put an added emphasis this year, studying, trying to learn the entire playbook from all positions. I think it's showing up here this afternoon.
I thought perhaps Eastern might take it easy, but it certainly looked like, as Glass is slow to get up, they were looking to
Injury timeout.
Drive the ball down the field and really put the pedal to the metal, but it may have been a costly 1st down play.
Well, it looks like when things are going well, sometimes you want to take a shot on that after a sudden change of possession right there. Glass looking down the field. It looks like he got rolled up, potentially right ankle, right knee.
Reggie Howard was the first one there. Then Jamal Hines, the freshman from Cincinnati, finished him off, and Glass is still on the turf.
And so a huge dimension of that offense could be lost if they have to go to Tyler Wiegers, who, and Chris Creighton said they don't win the Purdue game if Tyler Wiegers isn't playing. He played very well, but he doesn't really add that dimension that Glass does, what we've watched so much today. His ability to run the zone read play, and because of that, they've added guys into the box now. They've been able to get the quick screen stuff going on the outside, a little tight end pop pass that picked up 30-plus yards. But Glass has been a huge creator for this offense here this afternoon. He's given Wiegers a big lead if he's not able to return. Chris Creighton very concerned as he's taking a look at his quarterback and what he's been able to do.
Well, you saw the numbers on the year for Tyler Wiegers. And so if Glass indeed is not able to come back, Eastern has itself its starting quarterback
Toledo
available with nearly 1,000 yards passing on the year.
Please set the clock to 34
This
seconds.
offense is going to substantively change how they're trying to operate. There's zone reads, those are going to be gone. A lot of the RPO stuff, that's going to be gone. As we take another look at Glass right here trying to scramble. It looks like he just gets rolled up on right there. Maybe twist the knee, twist an ankle. Looked like the ankle went at the end of the play, and unfortunately for Mike Glass, this might be the end of his afternoon.
So Wiegers hands off on 2nd down, and I would imagine at this point that is what Eastern's going to be happy to go with the locker room with. And we will presume that the graduate transfer from the University of Iowa will be handed the keys to the car in the 2nd half. As the clock runs out, Eastern Michigan loses its quarterback Mike Glass on that play. Well, that's not good, but the rest of the half has been all Eastern Michigan. The offense, the defense, the special teams, they have been dominant.
They've been dominant, they've been efficient, they've been able to move the football up and down the field, haven't given up the big plays. They've been doing a good job of limiting their penalties, and this is not what we anticipated today at the factory. 28-3, Toledo over Eastern. But it remains to be seen what this offense is going to look like should Mike Glass not be at the helm, and instead Tyler Wiegers, who is more of a pocket quarterback, the Iowa transfer, who likes to sit back there, throw the football, not the zone read threat that Mike Glass is.
Jesse Kelly's kick reaches the end zone. Toledo will take it at the 25-yard line. Well, I'm curious to see how Toledo's going to get number 25, Cody Thompson, involved. The redshirt senior from Huron, Ohio, has caught passes for nearly 3,000 yards in his career, but he's got a goose egg here today.
Well, and he's one TD shy to tie the Toledo all-time receiving touchdown record with Lance Moore and Eric Page. And if you've been watching NFL football for a number of years, Lance Moore, the Columbus, Ohio native, walked on to Toledo, played a decade in the NFL, mostly with the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees, and one heck of a football player.
And good to see Deontay Johnson, number 3 in white, back out there as well. We saw him limp off the field late in the second quarter. And on first down, it's a big pickup for Shaquille Seymour.
And that's good news right there for the Toledo Rockets, except for the fact that there's another flag on the field, Doug.
Oh, by the way.
Personal foul. Hands to the face. Defense. Number 97. Penalty. First down.
So that's the redshirt freshman from Avon, Indiana, C.J. Hunt. And by the way, can I just say that I think we should put the referee Amanda Sauer-Cook on our ESPN payroll. She's getting more face time than you and I are all day.
Well, and there's a lot of these penalties that haven't even been subjective. If they're pre-snap, false start, offside, stuff like that, delay game, you can't even say the officials are calling it too tight. Those are just penalties that have to be called. So I think they're doing a great job today out there. She's doing a terrific job, and unfortunately, it's just been kind of a sloppy game.
Desmond Phillips in motion for Toledo. Mitch Guadani is going to go down.
And it's tough to get those receivers involved, Doug, when you're able to get the pressure like you are. Number 92, Max Crosby, one of the impact players, hasn't really been having the impact quite this year that he did last year. But you can see him off his defensive end position, collapsing the pocket, getting inside. And at 6'5", 250 pounds, he is a force to be reckoned with on the perimeter.
Well, for Max Crosby, that is his 17th career sack. He is tracking to become the all-time sack leader in program history. And a lot of that yardage back on the first reception of the day by Cody Thompson.
And sometimes you just need a little confidence booster. If you're the quarterback, if you're a receiver, you haven't really had the success through the air, get Cody Thompson involved. Guadani, good job right there, making this a third and manageable situation now. 3rd and 6.5.
And if you're Eastern, you're thinking, let's get off the field with that defense with one big play.
Oh,
and
goodness.
There it is made with authority, Jalen Pickett.
And when you're a defense that doesn't rush a lot with pressure, with blitzes, because you're so good up front, when you bring them, sometimes they can be completely surprised. Jalen Pickett right there from his will linebacker position comes in untouched. Guadani did not see him coming. The offensive line did not pick him up. And a huge play for the Eagles on 3rd down.
Yeah, he's coming off a big game last Saturday in Western Michigan with a forced fumble and an interception, 6 tackles, makes a big play here to help Eastern Michigan get the football back. It will take over at its own 12-yard line.
A nice punt right there, hitting it right on the 10, bouncing laterally out on the 12. And this is what you need for Toledo. You need a nice long field for your defense to defend.
And Bailey Flint, the sophomore punter from Melbourne, Australia, pins Eastern Michigan back inside its own 15.
And this is the last Eastern drive, as you're seeing Mike Glass use his legs on some zone read. A nice little move up the middle to get it going, and then you see Shaq Van just pounding in that Eastern line, imposing their will until they finally finish it off from the I formation with Van pounding one home.
And so with Mike Glass still in the locker room, it's Tyler Wiegers, the grad transfer from the University of Iowa. He's from Lake Orion, Michigan, out of Detroit Country Day. And again, he has completed 62% of his passes. He has started their first 6 games of the year. He has thrown for 928 yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick. So it's not like your typical situation where you're going to your bbackup quarterback.
No, he's very experienced. He's a very talented player.
The game time will be kept by an official on the field. The clock on the scoreboard is incorrect.
So now we have an announcement that the clock on the scoreboard is not working. Time is going to be kept by the official on the field. As Eastern Michigan is going through some renovations here, they have a temporary scoreboard up, upgrading the facilities, beautiful new locker rooms, strength area, all going to be put in here in the end zone. But unfortunately now the clock is not working, so the officials on the field will keep it. We'll try to keep you updated best we can.
Shaq Van, pick up a couple. Yeah, I'd never been here until today, and so I always like to get the lay of the land and walk around the whole stadium. And so I walked through both locker rooms before the game. And I was surprised by the fact that Toledo's locker room was a lot nicer than the Eastern Michigan locker room, but it's because the Toledo locker room is what is usually for the Eastern Michigan baseball team, and the home locker room for football is in transition this year while they are building the beautiful new facility that'll be down to our left end zone.
Doug, I mean, it's because Toledo, they're not in a locker room, they're in a clubhouse.
That's true.
The clubhouse just sounds a lot better.
That's a good point.
Got some wood lockers, maybe some leather sofas in there.
You're exactly right. There's no question about that. And I'll tell you what, I was also surprised to see the Eastern Michigan baseball team out working out as I pulled up this afternoon. You and I parked at the baseball stadium that's just to our left on a beautiful fall afternoon here in Michigan.
And so I think we've seen the difference in what this team's going to look like a little bit already as Tyler Weger's lining up, after a first down run. They've thrown it twice, a couple of quick screens here, and now once they get that going, wouldn't be surprised to see them push the ball down the field. And this is quite the conundrum for Toledo. They spent a whole first half trying to figure out how to stop Mike Glass in that running attack. Finally get that all figured out, and now, hey, we're going to probably see something completely different, because I doubt the zone reads are really going to be in the playbook, or at least at the front of it, with Wiegers at the helm.
Wiegers throws a strike for a first down. Well-designed play to get the yardage necessary. They go to their co-captain, Blake Banham, the 5'9" senior out of Cretin-Durham Hall High School in St. Paul, Minnesota. Same powerhouse high school program that produced quarterbacks Chris Wenke, Steve Walsh, and oh, by the way, Joe Mauer of the Minnesota Twins.
It's nice, and you see Wiegers here just lining up, slinging it outside, very accurate. And you like Banham because he's almost like a running back out there. He's not the tallest guy. They're 5'9", but he's almost 200 pounds. He's physical, he's thick, and he can pick up yards after the catch.
Yeah, as you know, Bobby, he's a converted running back, and you're right, he does profile that way. Wiegers going to be dropped for a loss.
And that is why, Doug, they do not run Wiegers on the quarterback zone read or RPO or however you want to get him the ball. And the other thing is they've been preparing for Mike Glass now all first half. That's not a play. You see three guys waiting outside. They're anticipating the much more athletic Glass to be running that play, not Wiegers, who is more of a pocket quarterback.
Well, as his coaches say, Tyler Wiegers, quote, is an exact prototype of an Iowa quarterback, which he was. Big, strong, bright, poised, unflappable. His one weakness, his feet.
And it's not that he's not fast. I think once he gets in the open field, he can open up a little bit, but he's not very quick. He's not as sudden. And so when you get him in the backfield and force him to make cuts, he's not going to be near as effective.
Well, isn't Tom Brady the perfect example of what you're talking about, that he doesn't run particularly well, but within the pocket, he's able to move around when he needs to, right?
I'm not going to let you put that on Tyler Wiegers, that extreme. Tom Brady runs like a baby deer for the first time right now. He's 40 years old.
I'm talking about within the pocket, having good feet as opposed to worrying about your speed.
Absolutely. He does a good job sliding in the pocket. Tyler Wiegers definitely has that from being in Iowa, which is more of a pro-style offense under center. We'll see him here now on a big third down to see if he can use his arm.
Completions made, but very nice defensively by number 21, DeDarlo Blue, the star safety out of Seffner, Florida, with a sure tackle.
DeDarlo Blue playing that star position, like you said, and sometimes that guy's more of a defensive back, but here, he's a converted safety, but he's 225 pounds. He's big, he's thick. They feel confident playing him against the run. And a big stop right there for the Toledo Rockets, being able to get the ball back here. And we'll see if now they can begin to put together a drive. They were able to burn some time right there, but it wasn't a nice long drive like they had in the first half. This Eagles defense will be forced out and probably have to play a little more, and a passing attack in the second half as the Rockets will be trailing.
And you know what, Bobby? We have not really seen the special teams be special. Here goes Deontay Johnson with a big return on the punt, and he makes it all the way to the 30. We've got a penalty flag down at the 38. But, you know, special teams have been special for the Rockets this year. And let's see if this big play stands.
Well, and remember this, Johnson had 2 big returns called back, 1 punt, 1 kickoff called back last week, and it looks like this one could be coming back as well.
Personal foul, block below the waist on the kicking team. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
We'll take a break as Toledo gets the football back, trailing 25. With Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman back in Ypsilanti, Michigan, home of the Eastern Michigan Eagles, who are leading 28-3. But because of a personal foul against Eastern, tack on extra yardage for Toledo. They get the football at the 15-yard line.
And when she said clip, I assumed that was against Toledo blocking, but it was against the Eagles. You said tack 25 on. Great field position here, but a great play on first down by Max Crosby, setting the edge over there. Kyle Rockwall, the middle linebacker, running inside out to slow down Mitchell Guadani. Take another look at this. See Max set the edge. Good pursuit inside out. On a nice job right there by Max. Getting sandwiched right there by Kyle Rockwall and Max Crosby, 2 of the big-time players on this Eagles defense.
Yeah, preseason first-team all-conference for Crosby. Rockwall first-team, or rather fourth-team preseason. Pass incomplete.
Now facing a 3rd and long after an incompletion on 2nd down. And there's certain times where, you know what, giving up a field goal feels like getting a sack or a defensive score. When your opponent starts on the 15-yard line and you're a defense that's backed up and you're in a sudden change situation like this, defending a short field, if you can come away with only giving up 3, you feel like you have gained the momentum being in such a terrible situation to start the drive.
Guadani rolling right. He's tripped up from behind at the 17-yard line. That's a big loss and a big defensive play for Eastern Michigan.
It's number 94, Hunter Andrews, defensive tackle, running inside out as they collapse the pocket on Guadani. Has a little bit of time. Feels the clock go off in his head. Max Crosby locking him down. As you see Hunter Andrews just pursue him outside, able to seal off the edge, and now forcing Toledo to have to kick another field goal.
So Jamison Vest out of the hold of Jalen Reese will attempt a 32-yard field goal. Vest now 7 of 11 on the year after booting that one through. And Toledo doesn't really capitalize on a very short field. At least they do come away with points, yet still trailing by 22. There's a good look at the gray turf here in Ypsilanti, Michigan, one of the few schools at the Division I level with the non-traditional green turf. What do you think about it, Bobby? Do you like it? Would you like to play on gray turf?
I like the uniqueness of it. I mean, the fact that they have it up here in the factory I think is pretty cool. You see the blue turf out in Boise. We'll be traveling down to coastal Carolina, which has, I think, like some sort of aqua-colored bluish turf that they have down there. So a little bit different colors. I'm not necessarily against it. That's kind of your deal. It's weird watching on television, though. Sometimes you see teams with gray on and, you know, the dark green. It almost looks like you're watching a game in black and white.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a different or unique look, but I don't necessarily mind it. The only thing is, in the summer, I'm sure that black isn't exactly, or the gray isn't exactly the coolest surface you could potentially have out there, but not bad when you're talking about mid-October.
I'll tell you what, though, the Eastern Michigan players love it. By and large, it sounds like the alumni like it, and so it is here, and part of the look at Eastern Michigan as they look to build themselves into a consistent winner in the MAC.
think they have the right guy to do it too, in Chris Creighton. He is a focused man. He's done a good job coming in here. Let him do a Bahamas Bowl in 2016. He's got to change the culture here. Put Ypsilanti on the map with the Eagles and what they're doing, building brand new facilities. They've been very, very competitive since he's come over.
He did a great job at the FCS level at Drake University in Des Moines, where he won 73% of his games, helped to get him the Division I FBS job here at Eastern Michigan. And there's a look at Mike Glass, the starting quarterback, who, as you see, is done for the day. On play action, once again, it's the tight end over the middle, wide open for a huge gain.
That's
Bryce
a great job right there. Play that we saw earlier in the first half. A little pop pass. They were running with Mike Glass. It worked probably a little bit better with an RPO, but you see Uyghurs can do the same thing. You get that strong running game going, draw the safeties up, draw the linebackers up, and slip the tight end right over the top.
So Mike Glass will rejoin his teammates on the sideline and try to root on his understudy, Tyler Uyghurs, and this Eastern Michigan offense. First down and 10 at the 45-yard line of Toledo. High snap. Handoff, running near side. Good cut to follow the block. And I think Willie Parker thought he might have had more meat on the bone on that run.
Well, it didn't look like there was much there at the beginning as you're getting to the outside, but a great job. They're pulling two offensive linemen, getting them out in front. Willie Parker able to turn the corner, get 5. With his speed, surprised he didn't pop that for a little bit more.
Clock at 15 as Eastern Michigan takes its time. Flag down. Pass complete to Arthur Jewel Jackson III. Let's see if it stands.
Guys on the all-name team.
I like it.
Arthur Jewel Jackson III, love it. That's where this flag is going.
Offside. Defense. The penalty is declined. First down.
So here we go, the pop pass. Right there, that's from the first half, Gunnar Oaks to Mike Glass. As you see the big gain, and now we see one. Same play, second half, Uyghurs to number 88, Bryce Kemp, doing the same thing. So pulling out the bag of tricks one more time. Works with both QBs, Doug.
And both tight ends. Uyghurs with Parker in the backfield. It's Parker straight ahead, and boy, from yards after contact, he picks up another 6 or 7, and he might be close to that first down marker.
And if you watch Toledo, their defensive line has played pretty well throughout most of the year, but right now Eastern is just seeming to be getting a big push. I thought a lot of it in the first half was attributed to Mike Glass being in there, maybe some indecision on some of the zone read, but right now, Tyler Uyghurs isn't really a run threat, so this is a handoff situation, and the Eagles' offensive line doing a great job of creating space for their running backs.
Well, Jimmy Leotiota, the right guard, is the leader. He's all-conference, senior co-captain from San Jose. It's another positive play on second down, and it's a first down picked up by Shaq Van.
I like that call right there by Chris Creighton and coordinator Aaron Keene. You see something up in the box, you've been running the football very well, throwing some quick screens. Why not try a little misdirection, the slip screen back to the backside and try to steal one in the red zone?
Little tempo. Uyghurs able to complete the pass to Banham.
And a great job right there by Tyson Anderson coming up and tackling Banham after a 5-yard gain. So Mike Glass started this game, played really, really well in the first half. Last drive of the first half, trying to make a play, gets rolled up on, looked to be his ankle or potentially knee, went into halftime, and now he's coming out in the brace with the crutches. Obviously not going to be back this afternoon. So Tyler Uyghurs, the 5th-year grad transfer out of Iowa, making the start, but he has the second half, but he has the Eagles on the move.
Looked like DeDarlo Blue got his right hand in on that pass to to keep the touchdown from occurring. But yeah, it's been a good drive here for Wiegers. You know, he was rated 4 stars by ESPN coming out of Detroit Country Day High School. He was offered by Iowa and Rutgers, went to Iowa, and has gotten his degree from the University of Iowa, and then transferred here to Eastern Michigan for 1 more year.
Detroit Country Day, one of the powerhouses in Detroit. Very, very prominent program. So, you know, he's well coached, well schooled. Went to Iowa, learned there. Pro-style offense, a little bit different what he's doing here in Eastern. The kid's accurate, and he can get the ball out of his hand.
That pass just a bit off the mark, though. And that'll bring up 4th down, and the field goal unit, led by the place kicker Chad Ryland, will come onto the field.
So you don't get a touchdown on that drive, but if you saw where they were able to drive it out of deep in their own territory, a lot of it was gained on that pop pass, but they were very efficient with the football, spread it around a lot, running it with the running backs, getting on the perimeter to some wideouts, but eventually they're going to have to test them down the field, or Toledo's going to be getting real nosy real soon.
No good for Chad Ryland. He's now 9 of 13 on the season.
And that is a huge stop right there for the Toledo Rockets, being able to stave off some of that momentum by Eastern Michigan as they traveled all the way down the field. It is still 6-28 here at the factory in Ipswich.
28-6, Eastern Michigan with a lead over Toledo. And the Eagles missing a field goal. Opportunity to get those 3 points back that they gave up earlier in the quarter. And so the Toledo offense back on the field, still looking for its first touchdown of the afternoon.
They were able to burn a lot of time, though, on that drive. But this is a great opportunity now for Toledo after the big stop, looking to push it down the field. But so much pressure applied by this Eagles defense that Udani hasn't had an opportunity to really sit in the pocket and utilize these deep threats that he has at the wide receiver position.
I'll tell you what, Bobby, as he picks up 12 running the football. Do you know the names Tua Tagovailoa and Kyler Murray? Quarterbacks.
I do know both of those gentlemen. Very, very talented.
At Alabama and Oklahoma. Well, they are 1 and 2 coming into this week in the country in passing efficiency. You want to know who number 3 was?
Mr. Guadani?
Mr. Guadani. It's pretty good company.
As we see another flag flying here.
Imagine that. Ike Calderon wondering what's going on.
Personal foul. Targeting.
Now, we didn't hear who it was on.
Well, we'll take another look at that as they go over. And it's all about player safety right now, and we'll take a look and see when the running back has the ball. And so this is where it's on Ike Calderon, number 7 right there, the very talented safety. This is the thing with this, Doug. I'm a defensive guy, and I'm all for player safety. But it is very, very difficult to make tackles.
Right.
And you're aiming for someone's chest, their waist a lot of times. Guys get contorted, they move around. As you see him start to stumble and go down right there, I don't think Ike Calderon was coming in there trying to size up a guy who was a defenseless player. It's pretty good technique.
First down.
I wish I were a lip reader.
So I think the play's going to stand. Is that what it is?
To review, the ruling on the field of targeting is confirmed. Number 7 is disqualified for the remainder of the game. 15-yard penalty, automatic.
That means Ike Calderon will also miss the first half of Eastern's next game. But I'm with you, Bobby. At that point, what is Ike Calderon supposed to do?
It's tough because, you know, the running back, it's not like he's a receiver with his back to him that he's sizing up and going trying to knock him out. Ike Calderon bent his knees, he wrapped his arms, you know, his head's not, it's not leaning forward, he's not trying to use it as a weapon. And I understand that we're trying to make the game safer. It's really, really tough for me. I would like the intent piece to be added to it, because I think that's a big part of what you're trying to do. Are you trying to hurt a guy intentionally, or is it sometimes it's an unavoidable situation that it's just unfortunate how it happens?
Right. I think that's very well said. And there was certainly nothing reckless at all about what Ike Calderon did, so we've just had to watch him in disgust run back into the locker room because he's done for the rest of the day. Penalties starting to even out just a bit. Toledo just had a real rough go of it in the first half. Part of their trouble on offense. Guadani, a lot of room again. Slides at the 38-yard line. He'll be about a yard shy of a first down.
You said the penalties are starting to even out right there because of some of the massive 15-yarders.
Right.
Numbers are not down, but yards are about equal now because of that, as we have another flag on the field.
Offsides. And a first down.
So offsides, Eastern Michigan. And what Toledo tried right there, they wanted to take a shot. It was first down on the plus side of the 50. A lot of teams like to take a shot at the end zone. They ran stutters or double moves with their receivers. Guadani didn't have enough time to hang in the pocket, but I think if he would have probably realized, hey, this is the situation, we have a free play, maybe take a shot, and that's the awareness you would like to see from a junior going into his senior year next season, to be able to make that play in the future. Just toss it up because you got nothing to lose.
Well, with the penalty, that'll bring up second down and inches from the Eastern Michigan 37-yard line. Guadani going to throw for it. He's got it. Cody Thompson against double coverage, pushed out of bounds at the 27. Move the chains for the Rockets.
That's a great play right there. A short yardage situation, you throw the out to your veteran receiver, he's sure-handed, pick up the first down. But I still want to see these receivers make some plays down the field.
Right.
When I was watching, preparing for this game, I was excited to watch the Johnsons and then also Cody Thompson stretch the field, use that athleticism, use some of their size to make a play, as we see him try to put one up there.
Flag down again as they took a shot toward the end zone.
Multiple flags.
And trying to find Cody Thompson. Yeah, the career numbers for Thompson and the two Johnsons is ridiculous. Thompson, 25 career touchdowns. Deontay Johnson, 21. John Vay Johnson, 19 career touchdowns. And as you mentioned earlier, Cody Thompson is tied for the all-time record in program history for touchdowns scored.
One away from taking sole possession there from guy Eric Page and a guy I know very well, Lance Moore, at Westerville South High School. Walked on at Toledo and played a decade in the NFL.
Yeah, got a Super Bowl ring.
As we just saw, Drew Brees, who broke the all-time passing record. He's one touchdown shy of 500. Lance got his fair share from Drew and did a great job here for the Rockets.
And I saw that after that record, Lance tweeted out that he was not only congratulating Drew Brees, but was happy to have a small part of that record.
Pass interference. Holding. Defense.
So 3 penalties on the same play.
First down.
So they're trying to get Cody Thompson his touchdown there. So they're running a little play action. There's holding in the secondary. There's pass interference on the secondary. But oh, by the way, on the play action, we had an ineligible receiver downfield. Negate it all. We'll start over. 1st and 10. That play never happened.
Thompson and Phillips to the right. Guadani takes the snap. On the read option, keeps it himself up the middle, still on his feet to the 15-yard line.
Nice tackle there by number 14, Ross Williams. Guadani got out a little bit. His zone read, doing a good job weaving and winding. And a nice push by that Toledo offensive line up front. You can see him in a nice wall, pull the guard around, finding a good job weaving. What a great job to make a play by Guadani.
Seymour inside the 10. Yeah, the coaches for Toledo say that for Mitch Guadani, he continues to get better at reading his progressions, his footwork, getting the ball out on time. Just much more comfortable as a junior now.
Well, and they really had a nice rhythm going. And when he got knocked out against Fresno State, missed the second half, and then missed last week against Bowling Green, threw the rhythm of the offense off, and it doesn't look like they've quite reestablished that same chemistry that they had to start the season.
False
Bill Parcells, one of his pet peeves, turnovers in the red zone, penalties in the red zone. Because yards are at such a premium when you get inside the 20. To give any back is almost criminal. And as you see, right tackle there, number 71, or left right tackle.
Brock Rubel.
Just trying to flinch ever so slightly, trying to hide it.
But when you're 6'8", 330, it's hard to hide.
It's tough to do.
How many years did you play for Coach Parcells in Dallas?
I only played with him his final season as a head coach.
Okay.
So in 2006, and then I got a nice little taste of Bill Belichick in 2012 as well. Both those guys, I mean, it's kind of similar philosophies. They coached together for a long time. Turnovers and penalties in the red zone will kill you because they went from a 2nd and 5 at the 11-yard line to, unfortunately, now, because of that, they have a negative yardage play, and now it's a 3rd and 12. You don't want to force one in for Guadagni to force a turnover, but you'd like to try to get a touchdown here because field goals aren't going to cut it, and you're down 28-6.
Snap was fumbled, and the play was doomed right from the start. Guadagni did a good job just to cover that football after he lost it initially.
That is the end of the third quarter.
4th and 13, 4th and 14 to end the third quarter. Eastern up 28-6. You got Tyler Wiegers, Mitchell Guadagni, the quarterbacks battling it out. And we'll see if Toledo can make a push in the second half at the factory here in Ypsilanti.
Back for the start of the fourth quarter at Eastern Michigan University with Bobby Carpenter. I'm Doug Sherman. And Toledo facing 4th down and 14 yards to go. They're going to go for it. Don't want to settle again for a field goal. Mitch Guadagni throws to the end zone. Incomplete. John Bay Johnson could not haul it in.
Guadagni had time right there. He's sitting in the pocket. They ran the all-go special. 4 verticals, and he had John Bay Johnson down at the bottom of your screen. He was open. You see him slide, and he just puts it a little bit too high. And it's tough because he's trying to window it in there. Great job by the safety coming over the top. But if you're trying to get back into this game, you've got to find a way to come down with that ball and throw a better pass. But a nice job by Vince Calhoun, the safety, coming over and busting it out.
Right, even if he makes the catch, Calhoun's going to knock him out of bounds. It wouldn't have mattered.
And so here's the stats. 390 total yards for Eastern Michigan, 238 for Toledo. And unfortunately, the Bill Parcells rule, every 100 yards of offense, he wants 7 points on the board. And so when you have 230 yards of offense and you only have 6 points, that means you're settling for field goals or you're turning it over. You look at Eastern Michigan, on the other hand, almost 400 yards, 28 points. They're right on schedule. And you have to feel good about what they've been able to do on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, football or otherwise, what was yours? We take a look at the stats through 3 quarters. What was your number one takeaway that you remember now 15 years later from your time spent with Bill Parcells?
He had all of these little sayings. He was the ultimate motivator. He found a way to get the most out of guys. But both him and Bill Belichick, very similar, but the big thing was always, more games are lost than won. And so you have to find a way to know what you're doing, practice every situation, things that may come up once every 3 years. You practice them all in training camp. So when you have a situation in a game and there's 30 seconds left and you don't have timeouts, or maybe you have 1, maybe you have 2, and this yard line, that yard line, maybe you need a touchdown, maybe you need a field goal, maybe you just need to run out the clock. You go over every possible scenario so you're prepared for it, so when it does happen, you don't lose the game, you are prepared to win it.
Sound advice for sure between the two of those guys as head coaches. 7 combined Super Bowl titles. Pocket collapses. Toledo's defense able to knock it loose.
As the Rockets begin to apply a little pressure right there. Tyler Wiegers hanging in the pocket. Tuzar Skipper coming off the edge. One of many is this. He's sitting here. You see Wiegers is pretty good protection, but a great job there by Skipper, just bowling over the tackle and stripping the football. Thankfully for Eastern Michigan, Wiegers got back on it, and it wasn't catastrophic, giving the Rockets great field position.
It looked like we could have had another penalty flag when the tackle went down. He tried to trip him on the way by.
I don't blame any offensive lineman. You get beat like that, you try to find a way to protect your quarterback. And the quarterbacks don't mind it either.
Absolutely. On the return, you see some of the quick twitch of Deontay Johnson still on his feet with flags down. Boy, Johnson ran, what, 40 yards there to maybe get 10.
You have two now flags thrown about 8 seconds apart, which probably would lead me to believe there's 2 separate penalties on this play. And special teams it's one of the most difficult things to officiate. Guys are in wide open spaces. You have to block above the waist the entire time. There's opportunities for block in the back, as you saw right there. Johnson running all over the field. Angles are changing. Wouldn't be surprised if we had some sort of hold and potentially a block on the back in this scenario. But it should be great field position for Toledo. If they want to get back in the game, you get a touchdown right here. All of a sudden you're down 2 possessions, and there's plenty of time left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, plenty of time for sure. And Toledo's offense is able to put up points. I mean, back on September 22nd against Nevada, they scored 63. That's not even the most they've scored this year. In their opener against VMI, Toledo scored 66.
They just have to find that rhythm with their receivers and with their quarterback. They haven't really been able to establish that chemistry again since Guidani went out against Fresno State a game and a half ago. And you look at the talent there with Deontay Johnson, John Bay Johnson, Cody Thompson, all 3 of these guys, NFL potential. They can all win one-on-one matchups. The protection hasn't been as good as I think you would like for your quarterback, but still, you got to find a way to hang in the pocket, try to push the ball down the field, and make some plays with your playmakers.
Well, in that game against Nevada back on September 22nd, Bobby, Mitch Guidani accounted for 6 touchdowns. He threw for 4, rushed for 131 yards, and 2 more TDs. I mean, the numbers are just unbelievable.
He can get it done with his legs. We've seen it today, but sometimes you have to turn down the 5 to 7 yard run when it's there to be able to look down the field to try to make the 30 to 40 yard gain.
During the kick, holding. No foul, targeting.
So I think we had a targeting against Eastern Michigan, a holding against Toledo. They should be reviewing the targeting because they review all targetings, Doug. I think that's where we're going right here. And maybe the targeting was Toledo.
Yeah, with her microphone dropping out, we couldn't hear who was called for targeting. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it looked like against Toledo.
Yes.
There was helmet-to-helmet contact, and then there might have been even at the end of the play there, too. Eastern Michigan looked like on the tackle maybe had helmet-to-helmet contact.
I mean, I didn't major in lip reading, but I was trying to get a little.
Yeah.
I thought I saw an Eastern Michigan at some point in there, which led me to believe that maybe a penalty was on them as well.
Yeah, it looked like Vince Calhoun there, the defensive back for Eastern Michigan, at the end of the play might have had it. And then earlier on the play, that to me is more.
That looks like it could have been more targeting. You're hitting a guy who doesn't necessarily see you, hitting him up high. I didn't see anything particularly malicious about that, but we didn't get a chance to see all of it either. And in real time, it always looks so much different. It's very difficult for the officials to try to see that so quickly and where the contact comes from. So we take a look at it in full speed. The vantage point you're looking at it from, all that can make a huge difference. As we watch Deontay Johnson dance around, my goodness. And the targeting call looked like it came in late, which leads me to believe at that second flag that it may have been more at the end of the play.
Which again, that would mean Vince Calhoun, the junior Rover, nickelback from Middletown, Ohio.
Well, they already lost Ike Calderon.
Yeah, for targeting.
He got kicked out. He got ejected for targeting. You lose Calhoun too. That's 2 of your Rovers right there. I'm not sure who else they would be going to. It'd be someone with much less experience who's not in the regular rotation, as both of those guys play significant minutes and are both very effective players.
So again, down at the 24-yard line right now. The referee, Amanda Sauer-Cook, continues to review the video to see if indeed the targeting call will stand and if indeed somebody will be ejected here. All right, while they continue to sort it out, we'll take a break. Eastern Michigan looking for its first conference win of the year on top 28-6. Well, perhaps the story of this game, when it is written, will be all of the penalties and all the time that Amanda Sauer-Cook and her officiating team has had to spend reviewing calls.
Looks like we're finally going to get some answers here on the targeting. Coming away on the walkie-talkie, we'll see what the ruling and verdict is. I guess there's still more deliberations to be had.
Bob Stinson, the back judge, in on that conversation.
Two targeting fouls.
Yep. We're getting better at lip reading.
Personal foul, targeting. Ejected for the remainder of the game. Personal foul, targeting. He is also ejected for the...
So both of them were Vince Calhoun, the safety, or the rover, on the finishing right there. As you see right there, he was called for targeting. He will be ejected. And then the other one on the block back on Toledo. But curious now to see what Neil Nethery is going to do with this defense, as he lost both of his rovers, a fifth-year senior and a junior, who are both big-time playmakers for him. We may begin to see some shuffling around here, Doug, that they probably weren't anticipating.
No question about that. Calhoun.
This is just...
is being escorted to the Eastern Michigan locker room. And there you see the other disqualified player because of targeting on that same play, Eric Davis, linebacker for the University of Toledo.
Number 43.
Junior from Rossford, Ohio.
Yep. And so here's the best news about all that. Holding, a couple targetings. We're gonna replay. I think they accepted maybe the holding, so it's 4th and 10 or 4th and 20 now.
That gives Deontay Johnson a chance for another return.
It does. It's dangerous games right here from Eastern Michigan.
Does seem to be just a matter of time. Good spiraling punt, driving Johnson back to his own 38-yard line, and let's see what he's got up his sleeve.
Big space.
He's got some room into Eastern Michigan territory, and that's the risk you run if you're the Eagles, putting the football in the hands of that guy time and again.
And you have those big booming punts, and they look great on television. They travel far in the air. The problem is you give the guy 10, 15 yards before the coverage can get there. And when you give a guy like that, Deontay Johnson, he's that man. That space is critical for him to be able to get moving, build up momentum, find the seams. And now he put Toledo in great field position. A touchdown here puts them down 2 possessions. There's 13 minutes, plenty of time left for this explosive Rockets offense. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a shot at the end zone with the first play here.
Well, after the 35-yard punt return, they were thinking about going to the end zone. Then on the check down, the pass is completed to one of the assistants on the Eastern Michigan
Brody
side.
Roback, actually. The former quarterback.
Look at you.
For the Eastern Michigan. Well, he stopped by here in the booth. And he's fired up on the sideline there. Brody Roback, the hard knock star with the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
Not only can he throw it, Doug, he can also catch it.
He sure can. He left his feet. We had a chance, like you said, to talk to him, and he said he just had a tryout recently with the Green Bay Packers, but remains unsigned. He had several workouts after the Browns cut him loose at the end of preseason. How'd you know that was Roback from up here?
He's got that hoodie on. He's got the backwards hat. No coach is dressing like that.
No.
Chris Creighton's not letting any of his staff look like they're going out on Saturday night.
He aggressively went after that ball. He looked like a receiver.
See, look at this over here. You watch Gadani scramble. Oh, look at Roback go up and get it.
Guadani fights his way through a couple of arm tackles, and he gets just about to the first down marker.
See Guadani scrambling right there, throwing it. Robeck going up in slow motion, coming down, fired up.
He was going to return that.
Absolutely, but we just saw a great play prior to that by Guadani. His team needed him to pick up a first down. A couple Eagles in the backfield, shakes off a few tackles and converts it. As Toledo's looking to get in the end zone for the first time today.
Well, with both Calhoun and Calderon ejected for targeting, perhaps Roback could be that answer. Well, tackle for loss for Eastern Michigan. And you know what? We can't say enough about Kyle Rockwall, the senior linebacker from Lapeer, Michigan, out of East High School, making another big play.
Him and Max Crosby getting in there together. Neil Nethery, they don't blitz a lot. He kept emphasizing that. They play what they play. But I'll tell you this, every time he's dialed one up today on the handful of occasions, they have made plays. His defense is playing hard for him. They understand the gravity of this moment. They're trying to get it done for their coordinator.
Guadani to the end zone.
Nice ball.
And Toledo has its first touchdown of the day, and for Cody Thompson, that's his 26th career TD. He is now tops all by himself in the history of this program.
And we have an injured Eagle down on the play. It looks like the corner who was covering him, but what a great play. What a great pass. You see Guadani hanging there, the back shoulder, using that big physical body of his to go up and get it. And that's what I thought we'd see a lot more of today from Cody Thompson and Deontay Johnson, that just big physical athletic presence. And you see Guadani, nice ball to the outside. Pretty good coverage by Ross Williams right there. You can't complain too much. When you have a good throw and a big receiver, it's tough to break that ball up.
Tell you what, if I was Mitch Guadani or his backup Eli Peters, I would feel comfortable throwing passes to Cody Thompson, knowing he's got a pretty good chance of coming down with that football. And there you see now 26 career touchdown receptions as he closes in on 3,000 career yards. And he's also, again, great on special teams. He had a SportsCenter top 10 touchdown on special teams earlier this year when he didn't really even block the punt. He just grabbed it before the ball was punted and just walked right in for a touchdown.
He's a special player. And that's why Jason Kendall loves him so much. He's a guy that comes into work every day, shows up, missed last year, out all season. And he was hurt in this Eastern Michigan game, so it seems fitting that he should break the record here at the factory. But he's just a natural leader. Everybody gravitates to him. He sets the tone in that receiver room and for the entire offense.
Down 16, Toledo goes for 2. Guadani throws, caught, flags down.
Who is it? Cody Thompson, once again, a great job by Guadani. Buying time, getting outside of the pocket, finding Cody Thompson running along the end line there. Thought it was a little bit early to go for 2. Wouldn't have probably done it quite yet, but when you convert it, everything looks right. But we have a flag, so we'll see if it stands. Couple flags on the field. You like when you get those combos.
Illegal man downfield.
So illegal man downfield, 5-yard penalty, and now it looks like this changes Jason Kendall's decision-making, and smartly so. Don't want to try to convert it from the 7.5. Bang out the extra point. 13-28. You're still down 15. You're going to have to get a 2-point conversion at some point anyway. I like delaying that as long as possible because it forces Eastern Michigan to play more aggressively. They can't sit back. The minute you miss that, it gives them 3 possessions, and then they know that, and then they can play conservative, milk clock, and it's a much different tempo of the game. And you see the penalties racking up. 14 for Toledo for 110, 9 for Eastern Michigan for 112.
Point after is good by Jamison Vest, and Toledo continues to hang around back within 15 points. Plenty of time on the clock here in Ypsilanti.
And you don't need to be a football expert to realize that 222 yards in penalties for both teams with really most of the fourth quarter here to play. I mean, that's not what you would consider a clean football game by any stretch.
And how many of those have been personal fouls as well? We've had at least, what, 6, 7, 8 of them?
A couple targeting, some personal fouls, clipping, some 15-yarders. Those are the backbreakers.
Yep.
Especially on special teams, if you have them hemmed up You have a good field position. All of a sudden, you get a holding, block in the back, a clip, post play, targeting. Toledo started that last drive inside the 30-yard line.
Yep. They've had 3 players ejected for targeting, including 2 on the same play, and including...
That's a first.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've never seen a double targeting call, and I feel like I watched a pretty good amount of football games.
I'm sure you do. All right, so Jamison Vest, after kicking the PAT, a senior from Peachtree City, Georgia, one of the greats in the history of the Toledo program, will kick it off from the 35-yard line. Ball fell off the tee. Blake Banham stands at the 5-yard line for Eastern Michigan. And the breeze certainly has picked up here, and apparently it's even breezier than I would have thought. I mean, we can feel it a little bit up here, but for the ball to fall off twice.
You got to bring in the holder then, so that's now you can see who the safety is going to be. I don't think they practiced this all that much. This is going to be a critical drive for Eastern Michigan. Stem the tide, burn some clock. Toledo still needs 2 possessions and a 2-point conversion, so if you can chew a significant amount of clock right here, it's going to really help your defense.
Banham receives it at the 7, across the 20, picks his way to the 28. Good return. Eastern Michigan will take over, looking to burn some clock and try to put some more points on the board, up by 15.
Eastern Michigan must leave for a play due to his helmet coming off.
And a great job right there by Banham, getting it up to the 30-yard line. Good field position. You know, the new rule with this season, if it's inside the 25, you can fair catch it and take it up to the 25. So we look around the MAC, Buffalo controlling Akron in the 4th quarter. As we look around now, there's Kent State, Miami also underway, all zeros, but some big games getting ready to kick off there. Most notably, Ohio at Northern Illinois, a couple of teams supposed to finish relatively high in the East and West divisions, respectively.
On first down, big play for the Eagles. That's Shaq Van, senior out of John Adams High School in South Bend. You know, we just saw the Miami-Ohio score. I wanted to point out something really cool that the Redhawks are doing this week. They've got 8 different helmets that they are wearing today, all to celebrate the fight against cancer. So they allowed different colored ribbons depending on which players wanted to play for breast cancer or for prostate cancer on down the list. So they have 8 different helmets that Miami is wearing as they play this afternoon.
That is a terrific, terrific job right there by Miami.
They were highlighted this morning on SportsCenter right before College Game Day, and that was the big featured part of what they were doing around the country as they highlight the different uniforms teams are wearing. Buffalo looks like it'll improve to 3-0 in league play, 6-1 overall. The Bulls' only blemish so far, a non-league loss, a big loss to Army. At the point where Buffalo was receiving votes in both national polls, you thought, well, if they get by Army, they could easily be ranked for the first time in program history before the season is through. But more importantly, they're taking care of business in conference play, trying to set the pace. And then on this side, in the West Division, Toledo staring at what could be its first conference loss of the year. Eastern Michigan, conversely, trying to snap that 4-game losing streak.
It is. Both these races very tight early in the year. You're coming out now to the non-conference. You have a couple conference games under your belt, and it always seems to come down to the last week for at least one side of the division, as those races are very, very tight.
Eastern Michigan playing without its starting quarterback, Mike Glass, who was injured in the final minute of the first half. He's back on the sidelines, or was, with a brace on his leg and on crutches. And so it's Tyler Wiegers at quarterback as the Eagles try to guide this one home.
Effective running the football. It's been a cornerstone of their offense today. The first half, a lot of it was done with Mike Glass. He is out on the sidelines with a brace on and on crutches, will not be returning today. So Tyler Wiegers gives them a little bit of a different attitude here, throwing some balls to the perimeter, getting the receivers involved in some quick screens. As we see number 87, Matthew Sexton, catches the quick screen, runs it 40 yards across the field to pick up about 3 or 4 yards, but it sets up a 3rd and 5. And more importantly, it's burning some clock. Even Tyler Wiegers, the quarterback, trying to get involved here. As you see him, number 12 himself, trying to maybe get in the way, look for somebody.
Didn't look like he found anybody.
He wasn't looking that hard, but he was trying to pretend like he was looking.
First reception of the day for Matthew Sexton, who Eastern Michigan is very happy to have back in the lineup this week after missing the last 2 games with injury. Swing pass out of the backfield, Shaq Van. He picks up maybe 1.5 yards.
Yeah, that's not the worst thing. You get 1.5 yards, it's okay. You cross the 50, you're going to force Toledo to drive the length of the field now. The issue is, hey, if Van could stay in bounds right there, you're going to burn another 15, 20 seconds off before they had to restart the clock once they set the ball. And that becomes the enemy of Toledo at some point. When you get inside 6 minutes, if you can chew 3 or 4 minutes on a drive, that's a critical component of being able to win.
Now, Jake Julian and the Eastern punt unit has been outstanding this year, and how about that? One more time, the Eagles, with their punt team, get the job done.
Now, it looks like it may have went in the end zone right there. The ball crosses the plane. They did a great job initially. I think they got a bad hop coming in, so it looks like it's going to be a touchback.
Had an opportunity. Still, Toledo's got a long way to go. Down 15 with under 9 minutes remaining. At just about noon this afternoon, we started things with an eagle, a bald eagle flying in and landing right where he or she was supposed to, and from that, the Eastern Michigan Eagles were off to a flying start on top, 28-13 with Bobby Carpenter. I'm Doug Sherman. Final 8:44 regulation as Toledo, who just scored its first touchdown of the day, gets the football back from its own 20.
So we see Mitchell Guadani pulling the football down. He's done it so many times today, turning that into a nice positive gain. 5-yard pickup on first down. He's still going to have to start testing those guys down the field. He was able to do it with Cody Thompson for the touchdown, but really hasn't challenged anybody that's been in a contested ball situation down the field. As we see him throw a strike to his tight end now.
That was a fastball to Drew Rossi right between the numbers.
A nice job there. They play split safety look. 2 safeties deep, the middle of the field being open. Donnie hangs in the pocket, lets his tight end bend over the middle, and throws a strike.
Big hit by the linebacker, Kyle Rockwall.
As we take a look again on the tight end, Donnie's sitting here in the pocket, does a good job throwing it to his tight end, and a nice shot there delivered.
Justin Moody.
13, Justin Moody.
Guardani gonna run across midfield, gets a good block, still going out of bounds at the 30-yard line.
Pushed out by number 23, Blake Bogan, the redshirt freshman from Grand Blanc, Michigan.
Donnie's getting close to 100 yards rushing.
He is. He's the leading rusher for this Toledo offense. He's been doing a lot with his legs today, and the thing is, he's not burning a whole lot of time. They've been picking up first downs. They're getting out of bounds. Eastern Michigan's going to have to put together a couple of drives if they want to try to salt this thing away, because the Rockets are on the rise.
Straight up the gut for a short gain. Shaquille Seymour out of Parma Heights Holy Name High School in Cleveland.
Injury timeout.
Young man who once scored 5 touchdowns in a game. Last November against Bowling Green, Shaquille Seymour reached the end zone 5 times. See, Eastern Michigan has an injured player. I've not been able to figure out the number just yet.
Number 98, Marquelan Scott, who became the starter since Buffalo, hasn't really looked back since, and playing very well on that defensive line. And hopefully he'll be okay. We've had a number of injuries today. Looking at the upcoming schedule for the Eagles, have to travel to Ball State in the Western Division matchup. Army, Central Michigan, Akron at Kent State to round out. So they've got some opportunities right there, Doug, to pick up some wins and get a little momentum going to try to become bowl eligible if they can hang on to this lead this afternoon.
Right, that's the thing. They won the first 2 weeks of the season, including the upset of Purdue. They've scuffled the last month. Haven't played badly, just didn't win. And so they still got every opportunity to become bowl eligible and make this a special season.
You have 4 losses consecutively of a touchdown or less. That can wear on your psyche a little bit as we look at Toledo's upcoming schedule. Buffalo at home, travel to Western Michigan, Ball State, at Northern Illinois, which could be for the MAC West title, depending on how these two teams shake it out.
2nd down and 7. Deontay Johnson makes the catch, goes down, and
face mask.
Face mask for sure.
He tacked on to the end of the run, so this has been a very, very productive drive for the Rockets. Let's take another look at that.
Personal foul.
Deontay Johnson on the perimeter.
Defense, number 6. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
And that's an obvious, going to be a full 15-yarder right there. Deontay Johnson looking around, trying to figure out what happened. A lot of times you don't even necessarily feel it all that much. You're just curious why you couldn't move your head the way that you wanted to.
So Jalen Pickett's penalty allows for Toledo to move to the 10-yard line. Handed off Seymour. Fighting his way inside the 5. Stepped out of bounds at about the 3-yard line. Clock stops with 6:30 to play.
Looks like the Rockets are substituting in some of their bigger people. Try to pound this football in. So the 2nd and 3 from the 4, so they can pick up a first down here. They don't need to get it in the end zone.
Seymour cut down at the 1.
That looks to be enough for a first down, so they'll have 4 cracks at this thing from just inside the 1-yard line. Oh, no, never mind. They're giving them a 3rd and short.
And time continues to be a huge factor. Stepping into the end zone, Shaquille Seymour. And now down 9. They can make it a 1-possession game.
A great job right here by the Rockets. The offensive line getting a good push. Seymour recognizing bodies on the ground, hops right over top for the easy score. And so kicking right here, make it a 1-possession game. If you don't get it, then it's 9. You automatically need 2 possessions. Don't determine that till the very end of the game. Force Eastern Michigan to still have to play aggressive as we see another flag come in, which has been a theme throughout the day.
Big point after for Jamison Vest to make it 28-20. Let's see what the penalty marker is about.
Curious who this call could be, but if it's another personal foul that could be tacked on, huge implications for either side. Because if you're Eastern Michigan, it's on you. It could severely hamper your field position. You don't get a first down.
Personal foul, unnecessary. Number 89 on the kicking team. The kick.
So you're going to make him re-kick it as opposed to tacking it on afterwards. It was on Toledo. And that's something for Eastern Michigan. You'd love to have it tacked on before the kick. It would give you much better field position.
And perhaps even more impactful, the penalty against Drew Rossi in making you have to kick it again. It's not just a PAT, it's just a little chip shot. Now you got to work for it.
The team's about a 35-yarder at this point.
Watch for 89 in white.
Kind of threw him down at the end of the play. So a little more difficult kick right now. Need to convert this to make it a 1-possession game. Got it.
problem for the young man with 64 career field goals made, just 4 shy of the program record held by Rusty Hanna. That's just a long PAT that once again makes it a 1-possession game. Toledo down 8 with under 6 minutes on the clock.
The ESPN app now with ESPN Plus. Get more ESPN and download now.
The ESPN app now with ESPN Plus. Get more ESPN and download now. With Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman. We've got ourselves a football game after Eastern Michigan cruised to a big lead in the first half. It's starting quarterback Mike Glass done for the day with a leg injury, and that has helped to allow Toledo to get back into the football game as Jamison Vest kicks it off back to Eastern. Bannum's going to let it go, and so the Eagles will bring it out to the 25.
And now they have quarterback Tyler Wiegers, who came in for Glass. He put together a nice drive, and let's not forget he put him down, I think, inside the 20-yard line. Unfortunately, they missed that field goal, which at the time seemed inconsequential when you're up 3 scores, but all of a sudden now that field goal is looming large as 8 points. A touchdown and a 2-point conversion ties it up for the Rockets. Critical drive right here for Eastern Michigan to get something going. So they brought in number 19.
That's Jairus Grissom, freshman from Dearborn Heights, Michigan. And I'll tell you what, running the football has not been a strength for Eastern Michigan, and this is a position where they absolutely need it. Toledo knew that and was ready for that quarterback run.
They were ready for the zone read right there. As you saw, number 91, freshman Jamal Hines doing a great job getting upfield, cutting it off, anticipating Grissom was going to run the football. Now they're facing a 2nd and 11.
Grissom is a 6'2", 205-pound freshman out of River Rouge High School.
I believe they just put Wiegers back in.
Does look like Wiegers back in there. Pass deflected.
Deflected and almost intercepted.
And Nate Childress had a shot.
Number 93, big burly man, self-made player according to Brian George. Getting a big paw up there. I think it was almost had a chance to be intercepted as well. So a critical 3rd down. As not much time has elapsed. 5:15. The Eagles have not been getting much done here in the second half outside of the one drive with the missed field goal. We'll see if Tyler Wiegers can use some of that veteran leadership right now.
Wiegers flush from the pocket, and he's dropped. Sacked by Tuzar Skipper, the senior out of Norwich Free Academy in Connecticut.
And that was not Eastern Michigan's cup of tea right there. They were backed up 3rd and long. They've been effective today when they've stayed ahead of the chains. When you've put Tyler Wiegers in a throwing situation where everybody knows it, Tuzar Skipper does a great job on the pass rush stunt. No time for Wiegers to even look down the field, flush from the pocket, and Skipper brings him down.
Team leading 3rd sack of the season for Skipper. It's a short punt, fielded cleanly. Still on his feet, Johnson, and finally going to be stopped at about the 47-yard line. So Toledo in tremendous shape with 4:28 on the clock.
Plenty of time left. It's a situation where you have inside the 50-yard line, Toledo, you have your full bevy of plays that you have access to. Still have a number of timeouts left. Clock stops on out of bounds. Clock will stop on 1st downs. And so for Eastern now, you're putting this on your defense. They're going to be asked to win it for you today, Doug. Your offense is probably not going to be able to get it going. You've got to hold them out of the end zone. And if you can't do that, you've got to find a way to stop a 2-point conversion.
Fumble.
Almost catastrophic right there for Toledo. Great field position. Eastern not able to move the football. Should have turned it over on the first play, trying to run the zone read with Guidani. And just a little miscommunication between him and Seymour. Tries to pull it late, and that's the problem. It slips out of there as the running back thinks to clamp it down.
2nd down and 10. No lost yardage on that fumble. Mitch Guadagni over the middle, trying to find Thompson against double team, and it's incomplete.
A big collision there in the secondary. It's a great play by Ross Williams defending Thompson, but he looks to have a little bit of a limp. As two defensive backs collide, a pretty good ball, dangerous throw. Good job in the middle of the field. Number 23, Blake Bogan comes over and runs into Williams. Thankfully popped up, but a big 3rd and 10 for the Eagles as the factory is getting loud.
Fumble again. Low snap recovered by Guadagni. He just puts it up for grabs, and it's intercepted. And smartly, the defensive back goes down to protect the football. Eastern Michigan with a huge defensive stand, capped off by a Blake Bogan interception.
Great job there by Blake Bogan. The redshirt freshman filling in now because Ike Calderon out for targeting. Vince Calhoun out for targeting. A little bit of noise, disruption there. Looked like the center. Bryce Harris snapped it a little too soon. Guadagni wasn't ready for it. Throws it up, hoping for one of his receivers to make a play, trying to find number 10, Desmond Phillips. I don't necessarily hate the play. It wasn't like he turned it over to the 50. It was just been like a bad punt. Eastern sitting with the ball at the 23-yard line. Chance here for Toledo to get a stop. There's still 3:37 left. Eastern's going to have to find a way to salt this game away, but a big defensive stand for the Eagles.
Shaq Van emerges through the line of scrimmage. Didn't look like that play was going anywhere, and he picks up 8.
Doing a great job finding a seam there. Shaq Van just punching a little hole as the Rockets were bringing pressure off the edge. Brian George doesn't want to sit back and let this game be dictated to him, as the Rockets are probably going to start bringing some pressure. And it looks like Eastern getting some big personnel on the field. A couple of tight ends trying to pound the football, salt this game away.
And if you're Toledo, at what point do you start thinking about using timeouts?
So right after this, if you hold them on 3rd or 2nd down and force a 3rd, I think you'll look at potentially using a timeout at that point. If they pick up the 1st down, then you can start using them again.
Shaq Van, again trying to keep those legs moving.
Shaq Van with the carry.
And it looks like he got a pretty good spot and may have gotten a 1st down. Let's see.
Hold up, they're running the clock on the spot. 1st down, okay. So now you have to start using them after this. They're going to they're spotting the football. They should start, they're running the game clock here. They're running the play clock. It looks like there's some confusion, though, on Eastern Michigan about what happened. What's happening? There's only 10 seconds left. 9, count it down.
Quarterback is Tyler Wiegers, the grad transfer from Iowa. Play clock is 0, and yes, they were not as aware as you were of that play clock.
Well, they called a timeout. Good job by Chris Creighton.
30-second timeout.
That must have come from the sideline.
Oh, it did. Well, I think there was confusion because the spot was a lot better. From here, it didn't look like he was close, or the officials waved their hands up, which would have led you to believe maybe it could have been a measurement. But they spotted the ball quick. They didn't signal really 1st down conclusively. They just wound the clock, and so the play clock's running down, the game clock's running. And Chris Creighton, I don't think, was fully aware. The other issue is you have a personnel grouping on the field for short yardage. You brought both tight ends in. So then you're kind of scrambling since that's not typically what they run. We've got to find a play to run with these guys on the field.
Well, Eastern Michigan, regardless, in the driver's seat, even if it costs them a timeout, up to 10, up 8.
So all 3 timeouts left for Toledo, I believe. They can burn one after each play, get the ball back here with about 1:50 left if they get 3 straight stops.
Uyghur's going to run it. Just protect the football, fall forward for a gain of 3.
Uyghur's on the quarterback keeper.
Jason Kendall wisely calls a timeout, I believe, right there.
Second timeout, Toledo. That is their
so Toledo uses a timeout.
sounded like she said they're second, so they may only have one remaining.
Yeah, we're having trouble with our graphics there, so I'm not sure about the timeouts. Don't take that literally, what you're seeing underneath the score there.
I know Eastern Michigan just called one, so
right.
they only have, they've at least used one. I think Toledo used one earlier in this half as well, so maybe only one remaining. So they get another stop, burn it to 2, then probably 35 to 40 second runoff there before the punt. You have a minute 20, depending on the return, to travel down and get a score. Eastern, a first down basically ends the game for you. But you want to make sure in trying to get that first down, you do not turn the football over. Nothing could be more critical at this point than possession.
And that's what Wiegers is going to do, just run forward like he just did and protect that football. He's 6'4", 227, gripping it and making sure it's not going to be stripped out of there.
Another thing you don't want to do is have a costly
30-second timeout, Toledo.
I can't imagine having a costly penalty in this game.
Exactly. You see a little post-game stuff. Guys are getting chippy or post-play. The last thing you want to do if you're one of the offensive linemen for the Eagles, do something ill-advised, give up 15 yards of field position, because right now you're punting from your 40-yard line. You feel good about it. All of a sudden, you move back and you're punting from your 25. That's a big difference as we see timeouts remaining, one left for each, so Toledo will be able to stop it here and she'll get the ball back with just under 2 minutes remaining.
Well, Eastern Michigan raced out to a big lead in the first half behind the guidance of Mike Glass III, making his first career start at Eastern Michigan. Over 100 yards rushing in that first half. Threw a couple of touchdown passes, but he went out injured, so Tyler Wiegers trying to bring it home.
See if they hand it off here or just let Wiegers hammer it in there one more time.
He's going to keep it.
He's got it. First down. Spot is tight, but it looked like he may have enough to pick it up. Wiegers using his legs.
It is going to be close.
I think anybody anticipated the zone read with Wiegers there. But it's tight. A great job there. You see him here, little fancy footwork on number 97, Reggie Howard.
Timeout on the field for a measurement.
Yeah, Howard had a shot.
The spot is going to be close. I don't think it was as good as what it looked like it originally was. It could just be a half-yard shy.
We are right on that line where you and I are standing up in the press box. It's right directly in front of us, and I think he got it.
It's going to be close. If he didn't, it's only by an inch or two.
Right, and I think maybe by a nose of the football.
Here's the question. If he's just short. So here's the question. You try to go for it here and salt this thing away.
The ruling on the field is correct. Fourth down.
Fourth down.
Do you go for it? Boy.
So my dad's coached high school football for 25 years, 21 in his alma mater. We had a game last night.
Timeout of the game.
Had the ball on his own 30-yard line. 4th and 1. He goes, if we can't get this thing, and this is the classic line, if we can't pick up a yard, we don't deserve to win the game.
Right. That's right.
And it looks like Chris Creighton.
I was going to say your dad, the former NFL running back.
Looks at his eye. You look at your offensive line. You look at those guys in the eye and say, hey, I don't care if they have 13 guys on the field. We only have to go about 3 chain links. And so they're taking out Wiegers right now.
Yeah, Grissom's back in, the freshman, third-string quarterback for Eastern Michigan in the backfield with the running back, Shaq Van.
Goal line formation.
It's the freshman quarterback.
Oh, he didn't get it. I don't think he got it.
No, he did not.
Oh, goodness.
He lost a couple of inches, I'm pretty sure, and those are huge pieces of real estate at this point in the football game.
And so let me tell you what I don't like about that call.
Timeout on the field for measurement.
I don't think the measurement's going to matter. I don't think he got back, but here's what I don't like about it. You're bringing in the freshman that's 205. He may be a better runner, but you only need a half a yard max. Let your guy that weighs 230, the 5th-year senior, run straight downhill. No fake. Let him go up and see if he can get it. He got you so close on 3rd, but they're short.
First down, Toledo.
So Toledo, still alive, gets the football back with 1:45, needing to get into the end zone twice. Once for a touchdown, once for a 2-point conversion to try and tie it up.
And you see the delay right there. of having to run the fake with the jet. He's keeping it the whole way. I think you get your big 230-pound fifth-year senior quarterback and you say, listen, you transferred here from Iowa for plays like this. You got us close. Finish it up.
Tyler Tate had the big tackle to get the football back for the Rockets. Guadani. Big yardage inside the 30. Toledo's in business at the 20-yard line.
And as a defender right here inside the 20, try to hold him off as long as possible. But at some point, the discussion always comes up. Hey, just give him the ball in the 2.5. One play. You got to get the 2-point conversion anyway. I'd almost rather just be able to get that done. Because you're going to be scrambling around now with how Guadani runs. And all it does is wear you out, Doug. This defense is going to be gassed. They've been on the field a lot in the second half.
Deontay Johnson in motion. Guadani going that way.
Double pass.
Johnson's going to run it. He's still in bounds. Goes down at the 9, so it's a first down.
And this won't be, you can't find this on the stat sheet, but a great play by Kevin McGill. The field corner. They run a little razzle-dazzle here. They're looking for the double pass. You can see Johnson pull up, still looks again down the field, and he could not find his intended receiver because Kevin McGill did a great job of staying on him through the entirety of the play.
Deontay Johnson, Cody Thompson to the left. They're looking that way. Over the middle, pass was deflected. Trying to find Thompson. They'll bring up second down.
This is what you love right here, the chess match. If you're a defender, you can see him, he's looking. Oh, and a great job by Kyle Rockwall, who probably wishes he could have picked that thing off.
He's got a couple of interceptions already this year, but a big play by the senior co-captain out of Lapeer East High School in Michigan.
Here's the thing, a sack puts him in a very bad situation because they may have to spike it out at that point.
Second and goal from the 9. Pass to the end zone, a little bit in front of the intended target. That'll bring up third and goal.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time left. You see him trying to find the receiver over the middle of the field. The field is condensed now. This makes it very, very difficult. Trying to find number 7, Javon Johnson, the speedster. Here's the thing you got to be worried about is number 6, Mitch Guadani, the athlete, buying time with his legs and maybe trying to scramble one in.
And I'd say watch for the fade. Number 80, Bryce Mitchell, just came into the game. Number 80 is 6'3" to the left. Guadani in trouble. Sacked at the 10. That'll bring up fourth down, and the clock keeps running.
They've got plenty of time, but this is going to be it now.
Jeremiah Harris with his first sack of the year.
You can't spike it. You don't need to, but it's all coming down to this play. The thing is, before, if you got a PI or a holding, it's going to be an automatic first down. At this point, there won't be much time after it, so it'll almost be negated. And this is what you love about these games. For all the marbles, 4th and 9 inside the 10.
Timeout, Eastern Michigan.
And I'll say this, I like that call.
30-second
I like the call
Eastern Michigan.
for the
That is their last
defense to use a timeout. You can't take it with you. Now, it also gives the offense the time to draw some stuff up. Your defense is gassed. They've been out there a lot. Why not give those guys a little bit of a breather, settle in. You can talk about some of these things. This is the situational football. Go over some of the plays they love, the guys they want to get the ball to, make sure everybody's on the same page. And so here we go.
This was the 5th sack of the day for Eastern Michigan's defense, and that is a season high. Give it to Jeremiah Harris.
Nice bull rush there by Harris. Collapse in the pocket.
The position he plays for Eastern Michigan is called bull, so it makes sense he'd give you a bull rush. It comes down to this, 4th and goal.
It's getting loud here, and there's excitement in the factory at Ypsilanti. Motion across the field.
That's Thompson.
Look for some crossers.
Guadani trying to find one of his all-star receivers. Now he's going to run for it, and he's going to get there. Touchdown, Toledo! Toledo. It's a 2-point game.
And that's what you always worry about with the athletic quarterback. They're running bracket coverage. They've got everybody locked down on the outside. You saw the middle of the field open. You saw it, I saw it, and Guadani saw it. No one's open. Good protection. Kyle Rockwell comes just a little bit too late, overruns it. Great job there by Guadani using his legs to find the end zone and to make this game now all on the 2-point conversion. Putting it on the left hash.
Let's see what Brian Wright, the offensive coordinator, has up his sleeve.
Everybody has their 2-point plays they love. Wouldn't be surprised to see him try to roll to his right here, make a play.
Here goes Guadani. Throws to the end zone. Incomplete. No flags on the play. Eastern Michigan clinging to a 2-point lead.
See everything we just watched? Like I told you, just line it up and play the 2-point conversion. Nothing else matters.
It would have taken away a lot of drama, though.
So we see it again. Bryce Mitchell, number 80, lining up outside, trying to run the end line play. It's a pretty good ball. He has an opportunity to catch it, but a great job there on defense.
It's Freddie McGee one more time.
Number 35, Freddie McGee, the reserve corner. They rotate him in and out. Does a great job getting his hand in.
And here's the touchdown that drew the Rockets back to within 2.
So now we're going to be seeing an onside kick. Only option left. If the Eagles can recover it, it's game, set, match. Hats off to Mitchell Guadani today. He's done a great job with his legs. He's the leading rusher for Toledo. He tacked on a ton more yards to his stats this afternoon.
So Eastern has its hands team out there.
You see number 24. A lot of times you don't see defenders back. Defensive guys are supposed to have bad hands, but Brody Hoying's a guy you believe in. He's a playmaker for you. He's the guy you want returning this.
Coming to the near side, kick goes out of bounds. And appropriately enough, the game will end with a flag.
Chris Creighton.
And another flag.
Oh, another flag. I don't want to see the post-play
5 yards
stuff.
will be added to the end of the kick.
So 5-yard penalty. Now you just send out your guys if you're Chris Creighton. Victory formation, the greatest one in football.
I'll tell you what, Eastern Michigan has spent the last month suffering one
After
type.
the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 42, Eastern Michigan. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's Tyrone Neal, junior linebacker from Hillside, Illinois. But I was beginning to say they have dealt with one close loss after another, and they are about to hang on to a narrow 2-point win over a very good Toledo squad.
Well, it comes down sometimes to learning how to win. And it's tough. You've got a young quarterback situation. Glass hasn't played a lot. You have a 5th-year transfer coming in. And you're trying to figure out, hey, who's the leadership? What's the identity of this team? We're doing a little bit of everything. We've lost some close games. The defense steps up today. You give them a big lead. Not a whole lot of offensive production in the second half. But you do just enough to get a win, and your guys step up and make the plays when they need to. Nice win for the Eastern Michigan Eagles and Chris Creighton. They've been searching for this for the last month.
Well, it's a costly victory for Eastern Michigan, but Mike Glass happy to be back out onto the sideline on crutches, encouraging his teammates who pick up their first league win of the year and improve to 3-4 overall.
And that's what you love about Maction. A game that looked like it was getting away at halftime. The Toledo Rockets battle back, and we're 2.5 yards away and 2 points from tying this game and sending it into overtime. So I'm sure they'll be celebrating tonight in Ypsilanti. Miles down the road in Ann Arbor, you've got the Wisconsin Badgers coming to town to take on the Wolverines. This place is going to be popping west of Detroit. So great job today. Max Crosby stepping up, the defensive end impact player. Couple sacks on the afternoon. Glass taking over, doing a great job running the football for Eastern Michigan, and what a terrific victory for the Eastern Michigan Eagles.
So for Bobby Carpenter, I'm Doug Sherman saying so long from Ypsilanti. Our final score, 28-26 Eastern. All games airing on the ESPN networks or streaming live and archived on the ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN.